You're listening to The Granite Discourse, a New Hampshire-based podcast with real discussions. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And for early access, subscribe to Patreon for just $1 a month. Thank you, and enjoy the show. All right, welcome to The Granite Discourse. We're live streaming down here at the Grapponi Conference Center in Concord, New Hampshire. We're at the 2026 Liberty Forum, hosted by the Free State Project, and they invited me to come down here and do some live streaming, and that's what we're here to do. We're going to do some interviews with some of the special guests that are here, and right now I'm sitting here with Pedro. Pedro, how you doing?
Doing great, thank you. Yourself? How's that going?
Good. We got everything set up. It's been interesting morning, but smooth sailing ahead, I think. Yeah. So
we have a great event, a lot of good people for you to interview. So I think anyone watching is gonna get a lot out of this. Yeah, I'm gonna turn towards you a bit.
Yeah. Hold on a second here. All right. We're good. I think. So Pedro, you're with the Free State Project.
That's right.
All right.
And I volunteer as the outreach director. So I'm basically just trying to get the word out. Thank you for having me on your podcast, the live stream. We table events. We go all over the New England. We target places where we expect to find liberty leading people, liberty lovers. So we'll go to gun shows. Vermont recently had a food freedom event festival. We'll go to a homeschooling show or a homesteading. We know where to find our people, right? And let them know about the most exciting thing happening in the liberty movement. About the Free State Project. We think, once we're in it, we think everybody knows what the FSP is, especially if you live here in New Hampshire. But the reality is, it's estimated there are 20 to 25 million libertarians in the country. And, thousands have made the move, but many more still can. So we're just getting the word out there.
So now, are you going around basically in New Hampshire, or are you going to
we go
states?
To Maine.
Yeah.
We do events in New Hampshire, which is a relatively new development. The Free State movement has grown so much that many people who are from New Hampshire or moved here without knowing about the Free State Project, they want to be Free Staters too. They want to be, part of this exciting movement. But typically, we'll go out of state. We'll go to Maine, Vermont, Massachusetts, New England, Connecticut, Rhode Island. We'll go to their LP, Libertarian Party meetings, conventions, meetups. And like I said, all those other types of shows. And so we'll set up a booth. We'll let them know in advance, who we are and what we're about. We'll set up a booth, put out some literature, flyers, and we'll encourage people to sign up for our newsletter, because that's really the best way to stay in tune with what's going on here in the Free State. And what ends up happening a lot of times is, people see an event that we're hosting, like this one, Liberty Forum, or maybe one of the more casual events, the Granite State Freedom Trek, I believe it was called. It was a great hike, beautiful views the whole way that we did a few months ago. That pulled a lot of people from different parts of New England, and they just wanted to come hang out with us for the day. And hiking is a great way to do that. You can talk for 5 minutes, you can talk for 50 minutes, and as you've been hiking, you sort of move around and engage with different people, and people can ask what it's like to have moved here, what it's like to be part of the liberty movement, how they can get involved. So these are great events to give people some exposure to the Free State.
What state do you think you see the most interest of people wanting to move from?
I don't know that I know that. I would think anybody New England states, with the exception of New Hampshire. There's the Freedom in the 50 States Index, published by Cato, but our founder, Jason Sorens, is one of the co-authors. they rank the 50 states in terms of freedom, and you can go on freedominthefiftystates.com or .org to find out what their methodology is. But New Hampshire consistently ranks number one. Every other state in New England and the Northeast is in the bottom quartile, I believe. New York's dead last at number 50. I believe Maine is 43. Massachusetts, I'm not sure.
Who knows?
I don't remember them each, but they all rank very poorly. So anybody in the Northeast who remotely cares about freedom and isn't, unless they doesn't want to travel to an entirely different part of the country, is gonna be interested in moving to New Hampshire. Anyone that's been affected by so many of the overreaching government initiatives, especially of the last 4 years, but we know that both sides encroach on our freedoms, and New Hampshire really is the only state where liberty is advancing. Freedom is we are empirically improving year over year. It's not just that we're number one. Or the gap between number one and number two is growing. A lot of people here call them the authoritarian 49, and the other 49 are doing the opposite. Even the ones that you think are doing pretty well, sometimes they take steps in the wrong direction also.
Yeah. New Hampshire's if you look at the rest of New England, we're I compare it to a bullseye. It's the state that seems to be, while liberty is growing in New Hampshire, it also feels like it's under attack in New Hampshire.
You mean because the protesters we had yesterday?
Yeah, there was a good amount of crowd. There was a good amount of people at that.
Yes,
there's been a lot of a lot more propaganda against the Free State Project in general.
Mm-hmm.
We have a special election coming up in Carroll County, and there's a guy named Dale Fincher that's running.
Right.
And they're calling him a Free Stater, and they're using it as a slur.
Okay.
To be a free state.
Yeah. Well, we love that. I mean, I think it's great. I loved how many people came out to protest against us. I would have been disappointed if there had only been 5 or 10 cats. I think there could have been as many as 100 people protesting at the State House yesterday. And the reason we love this is because anyone who's a libertarian or in that umbrella, let's say, ask and you live in one of the other authoritarian 49, ask yourself, do people come out and protest against libertarians? Are they concerned? Is freedom advancing? Is liberty advancing so much that people who don't favor liberty come out and protest? No, they're our best free advertisement, free PR. So no, I welcome people to protest, and I also welcome them to come learn more about us. I actually made a flyer to dispel some of the myths about free staters. So, for example, one of the most common ones I hear is that we're billionaire funded. You hear that all the time, and we're not. This is a very easy thing to Google. The Free State Project files a Form 990 with the IRS, just like every other nonprofit. We have a pretty modest budget. It's donor driven, and I'm not sure exactly what our average donation size is, but we ask people to become patrons, which costs $100 a year, $10 a month, or $100 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So no, we're not. We don't have billions. We don't have millions. So there's a lot of nonsense out there. Let's see, what are some other myths that we had on there? Well, and just that we're dangerous.
Yeah.
That's another. The flyer or the promo that they were circulating to get people to show up to the protest. Free State, dangerous. That's just weak. And it instigates violence because we're not. We're quite the opposite. We promote. We believe in the non-aggression principle more than anything. And the FSP, have we had some weirdos do some crazy things? Yes. Have the liberals had some weirdos do some crazy things? Yes. Have Republicans had some weird, does that reflect badly on them? Yes. Do those folks reflect badly? But it doesn't speak, the individual doesn't speak for the group.
Yeah.
And the FSP has consistently distanced itself from, people who are, who incite violence or, make racist remarks, things like that. So,
yeah. And, it's funny that the groups that I've seen protest the Free State Project, I would almost guarantee you that 5-6 years ago, they were pro-mask mandate. They were pro-vaccine mandate. They wanted to shut down schools. They wanted to shut down churches. They wanted to prevent people from worshiping at their churches. Probably the most fascist behavior that we've seen in our country in my lifetime, that's for sure, was the response to COVID that we saw coming from the government. And the people that supported it are the same people now that I believe they're the same people now that are saying that liberty is a fascist idea. And
you can't make this up.
You can't. No, it's complete mental gymnastics.
And anyone who didn't do what they said should be arrested, should be jailed. I mean, some wanted to, if you did get sick, should be left out to die. No, there's
people were getting arrested just for going to the beach.
Right.
So
that was the case in Puerto Rico. It was prohibited to go to the beach, Craig, of all places, where there's nothing to touch that then someone else can touch, where there's constantly a strong wind, where people typically sit with large spaces between each other, while they're sunbathing. So
there's a guy I saw get arrested for surfing.
Jeez, that's crazy as it gets.
Yeah. So where can people find more information about the Free State Project, where your job comes in?
Yes. Well, the Free State Project, you can go to either freestateproject.org or fsp.org. On there, there's a button to volunteer, and then specify that you want to participate in the outreach. And otherwise, you can contact me directly by emailing me, Pedro, Pedro @fsp.org, and we'll get you plugged in. But it's volunteering to do outreach. Let me tell you a little bit about it. It's for starters, it's actually really fun. It's we set up a small table like this one, and just some flyers and a clipboard encouraging people to sign up for the newsletter. But what's cool is just engaging with people. And, it's not, the people that come up to the table are friendlies. People who aren't interested, don't like the FSP or whatever, they'll just walk past. It's no big deal. I'm sure they have booths that I'm not interested in, and we just walk right past them. But the ones that come in and just to think, in a day you can talk to 10, 20 people, and to think that any one of them or several of them will be our next movers, could be our next state representative, could be our next business builder or community builder here in New Hampshire. I think that's really, really rewarding. So it's and we help people out. We give them little training videos that last a couple minutes on what a typical conversation goes like, what some of the frequently asked questions are. And so and people don't have to go alone. They can go with a buddy, buddy them up with somebody who's done outreach before. So it's effective, it's fun, and it's why we're here. We're here to invite our brothers and sisters in freedom to the Free State. So
nice. Well, thanks for sitting down and talking with me.
Thank you, Craig.
Hey,
great seeing you again.
Yeah,
and thank you for what you're doing.
Oh, no
this
problem.
Is important work. You get the word out there. I see you have a great next guest.
I think so.
Representative Mannion. I'm going to pass it off. Thanks,
All right,
Craig.
Thank you.
You doing cuts?
No, we're live streaming.
Oh, sweet. Oh, really?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, cool.
Dead air.
Fantastic. Cool. All right, man.
Tom.
Oh, wow, this sounds good.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, man. I got a whole bunch to say today.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Winter
Thank you.
Discourse.
Thanks for having me, dude. This
Hey.
is fantastic. I'm so glad you're here. This is great. I never knew we had like a media room before. This is so cool.
So what's new?
So Thursday, yesterday, the Senate has killed Defend the Guard, and it died unceremoniously with a voice vote again.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. We do have two on record that went up afterwards. It's Victoria Sullivan and Keith Murphy. They've been allies this entire time. They did pull it off of consent because it was otherwise going to die in darkness, not even get any kind of speech whatsoever on the floor. They did walk up and they put their names in with the clerk saying that they voted in support. So, but it's dead.
That's it.
Until next year.
Till
right?
next year.
Yeah. And what's embarrassing is my understanding is I haven't had a chance to watch the stream yet, but the opponent's position was now's not a very good time for this, right? Like we're like days after the governor has activated the National Guard to send them off to Iran. So I kind of want to so that's like policy, right? I want to kind of go off the little bit of the rail. So yesterday as well, we closed off session. We had a nice long session day. I was approached by one of the progressives. It's a co-sponsor of, or not a co-sponsor, but has been very supportive of Defend the Guard behind the scenes. And she asked me, she's like, we're going to do a progressive anti-war speech at the end of the day during unanimous consent. And I was like, oh, absolutely. And they're like, oh, well, Paige Boschman's going to do it. And I was just like, well, my side doesn't really like her that much. I kind of want to see what the speech is going to be. If she's just going to like rail like Republicans by name or something, or like as a general like blanket term, or go into some commie nonsense. I was like, I don't really want to do it. So she sent me the speech. I saw what she was going to write, and literally like reading this thing. And I'm like, this is exactly the same stuff that I talk about with Defend the Guard. It's talking about the separation of powers. It's talking about the War Powers Act. It's talking about Thomas Massey at the when he filed the War Powers resolution against the war in Iran. And it's literally something I would have wrote, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reading this thing and I'm like, this is fantastic. I'm going to go down there and stand with them, right? Because sometimes during unanimous consent, you'll get like a cluster of people. And what ended up happening is my side objected. Unanimous consent is supposed to be,
Unanimous.
Unanimous. As soon as someone objects, you have to vote to allow the member to keep speaking. You need 3/5. I was so angry at my side. I was furious. I had to storm all the way around the well, right? Around the entire back of the thing, get back to my damn seat. And I'm still furious about it till right now. That's why I definitely wanted to come and speak to you about this. Cause like I've been just pissed off about it. They roll call it. I haven't looked at the roll call because I'm going to lose a lot of respect for people that I normally respect. Cause it failed. It was a majority, but it wasn't the 3/5 to allow her to speak. And by that point, we had actually lost quorum. People had left the room. So we couldn't even continue with the day. We had to adjourn. And I understand that there are people that would vote, they're against her because of who said it, right? If I was down there and I gave that verbatim speech, I don't think they would object, but I'm not sure. And that's what makes me very angry, because these people, we have a caucus, right? The Liberty Caucus, and it's strong. It's got a lot of people in it. But the problem with some of that is that the way that Granger has set up that caucus is he basically says everybody who has an NHLA grade above this baseline is included. What I disagree with vehemently is there's people in that chat that voted against Defend the Guard, right? So if you had a Christian caucus and in that caucus someone voted against or voted for abortion, right? Like, would you allow those members to remain in that caucus? I would say no. There should be like these bullet points that are you either vote for this or you're not in this caucus. This like wide cat. I'm all about making coalitions, but when you have a caucus, your caucus should have a purpose. And this, oh, you have a B+ on the NHLA is not good enough, because all you could do is just vote good on guns, vote good on taxes, but not actually have a good liberty perspective. There are specific topics, war being the number one in my opinion. That should be above everything else. If you can't vote for Defend the Guard, get out of this caucus. You do not belong here. And what's frustrating is now that we've changed presidents and we got Trump up here in the White House, there are so many people in the Republican Party, even here in New Hampshire, that have backslid. We saw it with the vote for Defend the Guard coming out of the House. I lost 20 Republicans. When we had passed this out of the House the first time, I had lost 20 Republicans the first time, gained 20 progressives. But this time around, I lost 20 more. 40 Republicans voted against Defend the Guard. And then you have like the unprincipled Democrats that potentially voted for it because Trump's in the White House. They voted against it before because Biden was in the White House. Now they have a change of heart. But, you know, the Democrats are going to do Democrats things. That's not my problem. I'm part of the Republican Party. We should have better principles than that. We shouldn't just say, oh, when they do it, we're going to do it. Because that's literally this BS arguments that they're having right now at the federal level with everything to do with the war stuff. It's like, well, Biden did whatever and Obama did whatever. It's like Obama went into Libya. Obama went into Syria. It's completely okay when Trump does it. And this... So I became activated. I said this on your podcast. I became activated because of COVID. That's what got me into New Hampshire. That got me to move with the Free State Project here and then become active through it, because that was the greatest tyranny I've ever seen in my life. But before that, I became like a liberty guy, and I became engaged in politics because of Ron Paul and his anti-war perspective, right? And it was, to me, I was frustrated because I wasn't going to join either party, because I was just seeing like the Republicans were run by the neocons, these warmongering neocons. I want nothing to do with this whatsoever. And then the Democrats, when Obama came into office, was doing neocon crap. And, you know, the Democrats weren't calling them out. I'm like, well, I want nothing to do with these friggin' people, right? Trump comes along 2016. I voted for him because like he seemed like an outsider, and he was bashing George W. Bush. He's like, I voted third party in 2020 because of COVID, right? Like I could not stand that, you know, the lockdowns, the Fauci, Operation Warp Speed. I was like, this is a disaster. I cannot vote for this guy. But then going into 2024, we have this coalition, and like Bruce Fenton just did this amazing opening speech here at Liberty Forum. Like he was just talking about the disappointment, the rug pull of the Trump administration in 2024. Like his coalition was like RFK, who bashed neocons. You had Elon Musk, not very anti-war. You had Vivek Ramaswamy, who debated John Bolton and bodied him about neocon foreign policy. You had Vance, who was on Joe Rogan, and he was just like, Iraq was a mistake. The global war on terror never should have went anywhere. Syria was a mistake. And he's just outlining these things, not in like vague terms. He's saying this is bad. Yet Tulsi Gabbard jumped parties, joined his administration, 100% anti-war, thought the Syrian war was a mistake against her own party. That's why they got rid of her. She called Hillary Clinton the queen of all warmongers. And this coalition was like, I am sold. I am so sold on this. Like, this is exactly what I've always wanted. And like Bruce Fenton was like brought to tears up there, man. I felt it like this morning. He was saying like, the rug pull is real, because when he saw Trump in 2024, he was out there in front of, he was in Riyadh in front of like an entire group of like billionaires and all that stuff. He said like Elon Musk is in the audience and all that. And he says, this neocon crap, we're never going to do Iran, all that. And then, you know, fast forward to like 2 weeks ago, we don't even have an excuse for Iran right now. Like with the Iraq war, they had this BS. They had to do this whole propaganda campaign. They had to sway the voters to really justify this thing. They muddled the mixture, saying like, oh, well, Saddam might have had something to do with 9/11. This Iran thing, we have nothing. I have never been like so angry about like what decisions that the president made. Like when he did the Venezuela thing, there were people in my Liberty Chat caucus that were just like, oh, maybe it'll work out. I'd be like, when is this? So we destabilize, we decapitate these nations on our own supercontinent, right? Like, what do you think is going to happen if this completely blows up? Where do you think all of those refugees are going to go? Right. Like, if you are like a guy that's against this mass migration, you are against, these people coming in and taking over, like, and you were pro, like, I'm all for it. Let's kick all these people out that are just trying to like soak up our tax dollars. Kick them out. They don't belong here. They didn't come here for the right reasons. And the mass migration by the millions, like the failure of the Biden administration to monitor the border, 100%, I'm on board. Like, we got to get rid of all that crap. But you're going to go and destabilize a nation that's on our supercontinent. And you look over at the seas, you look overseas at like what's happening in the UK, Germany, France, like how they are overrun. And where are those people coming from? They're coming from Syria. They're coming from Iraq. They're coming from Afghanistan. They're coming from Libya. Who is responsible for all of that? Us. We did that. That's why that migration happened. Sure, yeah, whatever. Their open border policy. Like the problem is they're compassionate, and like the average person is pretty compassionate, right?
Yeah.
Like they feel bad for refugees and things like that. And there's even people on my side that are like, well, we did cause all that harm. Maybe we should do something, right? And yeah, we can have the attitude F them. But those people are gonna go somewhere,
Right.
and what's gonna happen? Like, let's say your country's against it, like in Europe. Let's say, what if your neighbor isn't, right? Like, so you have like, let's say Germany closed their border, Poland closed their border. What if those people just like stock up in Austria or something, right? Like they're right on your border. Do you think that's not gonna have some kind of like border crossing issues? It's just non-functional. So like when this Venezuela thing was going down, I'm seeing people in the chat were just like, oh, hey, this is a resounding success. We don't know that. And the justification leading up into it was BS.
I haven't heard much about it since.
Well, and I want to do one more thing. So we haven't heard much about it because in my opinion now in retrospect, so it's like, oh, well, it wasn't that bad. I think it was a testing board to see what the MAGA base would accept.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, will MAGA go to bat for me initiating conflict on our supercontinent and look the other way? Or, the MAGA drone, like that NPC meme that you see all the NPCs walking with the red hats.
Yeah.
They're just like, yeah, anything Trump does, we're going to go right in with him. Like whatever the hell he wants to do. And that's exactly what happened. And what ended up happening is like, because the base is so MAGA, like the amount of like the quantity of these people, in my opinion, there's just so many of them. The people that are on the periphery are in that like gray zone between like the hardcore people like me that are like, no, this is a massive mistake. There's too many people in that like soft zone. They're like, well, if I speak out against Trump, I'm not going to get reelected. I'm going to get primaried out and all that stuff. Even in a state rep race, like they're concerned about this stuff. Because it's true, these people, like a lot of voters don't necessarily understand who their state reps are. Like they see things in a bigger picture. Like is such thing as like up ballot, down ballot. Mm-hmm. So there's people that are concerned about this, and it just sickens me when I see this attitude in my quote unquote Liberty Caucus chat of just like supporting the Venezuela thing, and now like saying, yeah, rah, we have to get Paige Bauschman. She's trying to do this unanimous consent where all she's saying is literally quotes that I have, not literally, very, very close to the same stuff that I would argue with Defend the Guard. Exactly the same stuff. Separation of powers, war powers, talking about the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 gives exclusive authority to Congress. Like this stuff like is just liberty through and through. And there are people in the Liberty Caucus. I'm not naming names, man, but I am disappointed with the amount of people that were just like, no, vote red. Don't let her keep speaking. I'm like, this is disgusting. Like I was like this close to just leaving the chat entirely, right? Like I could say, but it's one of those things. Like when you're part of this beast, like these parties, you have to choose the party, right? Use the party as a vehicle, right? To push liberty. You got to pick one. You want to run third party, you're just going to lose and do nothing, right? So it's like when I'm part of these parties, I want to fix things from within, but it's just like I feel like a dude out on an island against like this monsoon of just these drones that are just. If you support the war in Iran, you should not be in this Liberty chat, and there's just too many, right? Like it's disappointing. Like I know we pat ourselves on the back, like the Free State people and the Liberty people. It's like we have 100 and something like Liberty reps, and it's just like if you are supporting the war in Iran, you are not a Liberty rep. Get out of that chat. Like leave. You shouldn't be there. Mm-hmm. Absolutely unacceptable. And then like, yeah, I'm sorry, man. All right, go ahead.
No, you're cooking, man. Keep going.
Dude. I was out there. I was just talking to Derek Proulx out in the hallway. He's hosting Bring Our Troops Home and Defend the Guard booth.
Yeah. And
I was just starting to rant to him, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go talk to Craig, because if I'm going to rant, I want to do this on camera. You guys can pick it up later, but holy crap, man. Like,
We're repeating history, it feels like.
It's awful. And it's the same idiots.
The cognitive dissonance around it is amazing.
The neocons are like, this is what I always wanted. Right?
It's like they just got a new branch of neocons.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a younger group.
They've been hijacked.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, blame Israel, blame whatever you want, but like they have found a way to infiltrate the MAGA people who used to be America First,
and they've been trying for a long time.
Yes,
and I think you're onto something with Venezuela.
Yes,
because I mean, when that happened, I didn't expect it. I mean, I don't really watch. I don't think I watch enough news anymore.
No, Well, I mean,
it
a
just
lot of
popped
people.
up.
This stuff was like you'd have to be down in the weeds to even know it was like what were the excuses? Like
Mhm.
what was exactly happening? How long were we posturing? If you're not like down in the bowels, like following all the anti-war people, you don't know that this is even happening,
Yeah.
right? Like Fox News. I listen to the one of the only like mainstream things I have in my podcast rotation is the 5, right? Because I use that as like a way to figure out where is the average like boomer at, like
Yep.
like what's going through their head. They're not talking about Venezuela until it went down,
Mhm.
but weeks leading up to that, we had those blockades. We had they were mentioning from time to time, only to dunk on the Democrats, that we were drone striking these boats, and they were saying these Democrats are against us killing drug dealers, and it's like, okay, well, let's back up a little bit here, because for years the DEA, the Coast Guard, and the Customs and Borders Protection had been saying that fentanyl does not come. They said this explicitly: does not come from South America at all, including Venezuela. Fentanyl's created in like warehouses, and it's made mostly in Mexico. Comes across the border illegally, obviously through some kind of mules, right? Or it's even made in the United States in warehouses, in the same way you make meth and all that. Like that, it can be made anywhere. Why would any drug cartel bother making stuff all the way down in Venezuela to ship it to the US when you can make it right in Mexico and hop right over the border? And it's like, oh, well, maybe it's cocaine then. It's like, okay, well, the cocaine that comes to the United States doesn't go through Venezuela. It comes out of Colombia, right up through Central America, right to the US. There's no Venezuela in there. This entire psyop about bombing these boats to protect us from drugs is BS. And anybody who has like more than like a 30 IQ should be able to figure that out, in my opinion. But the MAGA drones just like went with it. Yeah. We're defending. I had people on my Facebook feed when he went into Caracas and yanked out Maduro. I was just like, I voted against more wars. That's all I said on Facebook.
I remember that.
And there were people in my comments just like, so you support narco terrorism? And I replied to one of them. I was just like, okay, boomer. Like, it's like, you're obviously just mainlining that Newsmax like talking points. And I'm like it's like talking to an NPC, talking like, I think Michael Malice has a quote where it's like, when you argue with boomers, you're arguing with the television. And
that's hilarious.
Yeah, and that's what I feel like. And I debated one person that I know has more brain cells in my replies. I think it was a guy, might have been from my unit. It was a guy that I served in the Marine Corps with. Where he's like, "Hey man, you know this isn't like an actual war and all that stuff." And I was like, "I don't know, dude. When you kill 80 people and roll in and disable their military defenses and then decapitate a nation, if they did that to us, we'd be at war."
That seems to be the new saying too. It's not a real war.
Yeah. Well,
even when we bombed Iran the last time.
Oh yeah.
And we supposedly took out all their nuclear capabilities then. So,
yeah, and Trump put out that statement, still on the White House website, that says, if you do not believe that we wiped out their nuclear capabilities, you are falling for fake news.
Okay. Well, so then why did we go? Why are we there?
There's no reason now.
And now they're saying the boots on the ground aren't out of.
Yep. Oh, they're doing the same. I think I was listening to Scott Horton's going to be speaking today, and I think he was doing a podcast last Friday with it was like right before we attacked too, so it was like weird timing. It was like him and Martyr Made, that guy Daryl Cooper.
Yep.
They do a podcast called Provoked, and I was listening to them, and they were talking about how and it's actually they predicted the future. We would end up using the Kurds because the Kurds are all up in that northern Iraq, eastern Turkey, western Iran. They all operate up in there, and they were saying like, well, we'll just do like we always do. We're just going to arm the Kurds, and they're going to roll in over the mountains.
CBS News had a story this morning that they're interviewing the Kurds.
Yep.
And they were asking for arms.
Yep.
And that's the first time I've watched network television in I don't know how long.
Exactly.
And
and now the mainstream's onto it, and now they're propping them up. They're the new heroes, like the same thing they did during the Iraq War 1 and 2.
And then they were talking that I think they're trying to incite gas shortages because they're talking about how crude oil's gone up 20% in the last week since the attacks on Iran. And they said, well, what can you do? And they told people to invest in their retirement and go out and fill up your tank. But don't panic. So they added that in there so it doesn't seem like they're creating a run on fuel.
Yeah.
But that's what they said. Don't panic.
Don't panic. But it's
fill up
already
your tanks and start investing.
Yep. It's crazy. And Iran's also, from my understanding, their retaliatory strikes are against all their neighboring countries' oil refineries.
And they mentioned that too.
Yep. So like the price of oil is about to skyrocket. And like, how is this making America great again?
Right.
Like Trump was just bragging, I think a month ago.
Things haven't been, like inflation has calmed down, sure, but prices stay high.
Yes.
So this will drive up prices again. If fuel
For sure.
goes up, everything goes up.
Yep, everything's downstream of fuel. And he was bragging a month ago about how low prices were. They're under $2, like during the State of the Union.
Yeah.
Like, I saw it somewhere; it was under $2 in like Oklahoma or something like that. And it's like, okay, well, now it's like up 30% or something insane. It's already climbing in reaction because we know this, like the downstream of this, right?
Yeah.
And it's just so to circle back to the Kurds thing, the thing that they had mentioned in on the Provoke podcast, it's like why are the Kurds such an oppressed minority? Why does like Syria hate them? Why does Turkey hate them? Why does Iraq hate them? Why did Saddam like attack them all the time? It's like, well, if you have this little cluster that always does the CIA bidding and decapitates leaders of nations just camping in your country, you'd want them gone too, right? Like, it's hard to be sympathetic. Like, put yourself in the shoes of the, like, sure, they're monsters, right? Like, no one argues that Bashar al-Assad wasn't a monster and Saddam Hussein's a monster and like the Ayatollah was a monster. They're all monsters. But it's like, if you have these, like, if somebody was establishing an insurgency network in our country to potentially overthrow the government, it's just sitting there, just waiting to be used. You wouldn't want them here either. And it's any harm that comes to the Kurds is on us.
Yeah.
Like, we started it. This is our fault. We need to own this. Like, this attitude of like post 9/11 they had is just like, they're attacking us for our freedoms. It's like, all of this is blowback, dude. It all rolls back to like decisions we made in the past. We destabilize nations in the region. We bomb whatever, whatever we want, and so killing innocent people left, right, and center. It's like, we ally with Israel, like unquestionably, even when like they're doing horrible things. We're like, you better not do that. We don't make any proactive effort. They last June, they like went all in on the Iran bombing stuff, and then we had to jump in behind them to bail them out. And like we said, it was like, oh, we're destroying their nuclear capabilities. It's like, no, Israel had bit off more than they can chew by going after Iran again, and then their Iron Dome was failing. Like, the missiles were starting to land in Tel Aviv. They bit off more than they could chew, and they didn't expect it. And we're hearing now this week from Hegseth. I think he spoke to like one of the subcommittees. He had mentioned, I think it was in direct response to us losing those 4 soldiers in Kuwait. He was saying, oh, well, we underestimated their drone capabilities. And like our air defense weren't able to keep up with it. That's how that happened. And it's like, okay, so we're already in over our head 1 week into the war. And what they said was going to be a couple days, maybe a couple weeks at best. Now they're estimating it could go till September. If this thing goes till September, Republicans are cooked.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we were already going to be struggling because the inflation thing hadn't quite come under control. And people like, there's some moderate backlash to this ICE stuff. If this war goes on, we are cooked. And especially New Hampshire, like, this state has no tolerance for war. One of the things that I cited back when I testified about Defend the Guard years last term is I mentioned when I went into Wikipedia, I was looking at like, I was like, people consider New Hampshire a blue state because of our federal delegation, right? Like, it's been blue for 20 years now.
Yeah.
Do you know why that happened? Like, why it flipped? Because of the war in Iraq. That's exactly why. Not only did they steal, like, Jeb Bradley was a former president of the Senate. He lost his seat. Like, there was these districts that were they were solid red, safe red congressional seats. And the Senate had been reliably red. Like, maybe it popped once or twice. But this was an absolute, like, house cleaning event. Like, 2006, we lost the governor. We lost the executive council. We lost the state house. We lost the state Senate. We lost all the federal delegation that was up for election that term. And then the next election, we lost the other senator. And it has been blue ever since. And it's entirely because of the Iraq war. They did a poll. I saw the poll from UNH. It's like 60% of independents right now are against the attacking Iran altogether. Mm-hmm. If you go further into that poll about boots on the ground, it's like 80-90%.
If people are done with this,
we are very anti-war, and this like attitude from the Republicans, even in my own Liberty caucus, of just like, oh well, yeah, this had to happen. Like, it's like, you idiots. Do you have any, like, we can talk about like the Democrats are trying to pass an income tax. Like, okay, yeah, that's horrible. But people show up to vote like based off of huge things like this. They're going to show up to vote for this, against this war. This coming election, in my opinion, come November, is going to be a protest against this war if it's still going on.
Well, one of the things I liked about Donald Trump, just like you did, was that he said no more wars.
Yes.
And that's in 2024, things seemed very the future looked very bright.
I was so hyped.
And
in January 2025, I was so hyped.
It's all gone to shit.
It has. And like it's like
Not all of it, but a good amount.
I mean, even the immigration stuff is not going nearly as quickly as it should.
Right.
And like this ICE stuff where like they're just kind of allowed to do whatever the hell they want. And like now we have like 2 dead Americans because of it. You can blame the Democrats all you want, but that optics is terrible.
Yeah.
That we could have done this a better way.
Yeah.
I'm Monday morning quarterbacking and all that stuff, but it's just like, okay, well, it happened. We can claim it's Monday morning quarterbacking all we want, but the average American wasn't okay with that.
No.
2 Americans dying.
No.
And Republicans are like, yeah, screw them. It's like, well, that makes us look like psychos.
Yeah.
You guys remember when Charlie Kirk died? Like how even like there's a good chunk of Democrats were like, this is beyond the pale. Right. There was a good chunk of Democrats, like not the super progressives that were still calling for more.
Yeah.
Right. Those people are lost. They are a lost cause. But what we're trying to grab, and we always do this, and you go do like election training with AFP or YAL or any of these people, these grassroots organizations. They're going to tell you the people that you're trying to win over is like 3%, honestly, because there's the people that will never vote for you. There's the people that will always vote for you. And then you scope it down. It's like there's people that never show up to elections. You scope it all the way down. It's like you're at the margins, man. You're like, and those margins they weren't okay with those people being executed. And they're not okay with the war in Iran. And if we're going to sit here and just double down or stay silent, that is going to cost us. We like the party itself, the Republican Party needs to get its act together. We can't just like drive headlong into whatever Trump wants because we're scared of upsetting our base. That base, in my opinion, even if you came out against Trump, if it's Republican versus Democrat on the ballot, they're still going to vote for the Republican. I don't think that they're like, it may hurt you in a primary, but come November, the Republicans, you still have the Republicans. We need to be principled, and we need to be anti-war. We need to be anti-police murdering people. And if we take both those stances, then we get the middle. But when we're out here laughing at the people executed by ICE, that makes us look like psychopaths. It makes us look like the progressives laughing about Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable. And yeah, I'm so glad that I'm here to come rant about this stuff instead of just like retweeting people. Like normally I don't usually type a lot on Twitter, but I retweet people that I agree with because someone always has a better way of saying something. In my opinion, like why am I going to try to say the same thing that other people said? I'm always going to retweet the smart people.
Yeah.
But I'm more than happy to come and rant on a camera.
Yeah. So what do you have going on with the Free State Project for Liberty Forum?
I'm actually not doing any presentations. I will be introducing Scott Horton.
Okay.
Which I was honored. I am going to be hosting a dinner, but I'm not speaking or anything like that. It's going to be like an off-site dinner for like 20 folks. I think you're on the guest list, if I'm not mistaken.
I might be. I don't know.
So.
I was just going to show up anyway.
Yeah. Sweet.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what else is going on in the legislature? Anything you want to talk about?
I mean, as far as like specific bills due next week, we have 2 days. We tried to yesterday. So before all that other stuff with Paige, we tried to extend the deadline because we have 200 bills we have to get done before the deadline, which is next Thursday.
Oh, really?
And it took us from 9 a.m. to about 5:30 to go through 40 bills yesterday.
What?
Yeah. So we have to do 200 in 2 days.
Oh, that's awful.
Wednesday and Thursday. Yeah. We tried to move the deadline. The Democrats postured like you should plan better, even though they're the ones who filed like all those garbage bills that we like. It's repealing like EFAs and stuff like that, like stuff that the governor's never going to sign. You want to talk about like wasting time? Everything they filed is a waste of time. Almost everything. There's always bipartisan stuff that passes on the consent calendar that we all like. Yes, sure. Like, yeah, that date's wrong. Yeah, this shouldn't make sense. Things like car inspections that came from us, but it's just like that ended up being bipartisan in the end. Some bipartisan stuff is still good, in my opinion, like working across the aisle on single issues. But like these, like just attacks on EFAs, attacks on homeschoolers, like trying to undo anything we did last term.
Income tax.
Oh my God. It's so funny that like it's like Monday they have that dude, the former executive counselor, go out there and say like I'm proposing an income tax, and then like all of the NH Dems orgs condemn the dude as if he basically denied the Holocaust or something. Like that guy does not speak for us. He's blah, 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 blah. And then we immediately have like a constitutional amendment that says and Osborne made a floor amendment because originally it was like something about like raising taxes in general requires a 3/5 majority, and the replace all amendment was just the legislature shall not not impose an income tax. That was it. It was a complete replace all. We passed the replace all on a simple majority because you can do that. Then a constitutional amendment requires 3/5. And oh, what did you know? All the Democrats except 4 voted against banning an income tax. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
so after everything going on before the war in Iran, what were your thoughts on the midterms? Because when we talked last time,
yeah,
we were thinking, we'll probably be all right.
Yeah, I thought we'd be okay because I thought things would bounce back. Like
Yeah.
I thought the inflation would calm down a lot faster. I never thought tariffs were a good idea. I genuinely despise tariffs. If the only way I'd support tariffs is if they abolish the income tax. If you want to abolish the income tax and replace it with tariffs, fine.
Yeah.
But
which is something that they were saying that they would do.
That's what they promised. And, gullible me, right? Like I fell for it again award. Like I was just like, this guy's kind of radical. Maybe he'll do it. Didn't happen. I filed my taxes and I saw, I'm still paying an income tax. So F this. Like I'm opposed on tariffs on principle and then super opposed to it because the income tax is still here. So I thought that was going to, because obviously that's also a driver of inflation, right? Because it's going to make anything we import more expensive. It's going to make, like I work at a company where we actually we sell machines overseas. We do automotive cameras, like automotive camera assembly. And some of our factories go to like Mexico or China or whatever. Being able to sell these machines into any nation like that now is a massive customs nightmare. Like we don't know how to work around stuff like that. And I just and we're not like a super big company. And I can't even imagine like middle tier, like even bigger companies, like trying to deal with this stuff and God forbid, an even smaller company trying to do anything internationally right now, where it's just like knee jerk tariff. Oh, it's 15% on importing. So like not only are we export, you got to import some material to build, right? Like whether it's circuit boards, whatever it may be. And all of a sudden your material costs are up 15% one day. And then it's like the next week it's down 7%. And it's just this like whiplashy tariff stuff. It's like, it's bad for business. Like I understand the premise, like you tariff these countries to like protectionism and you import these, you hope that these manufacturers move back here. That didn't really happen.
No.
It's all they did is just charge us more, right? And then the average consumer is the one who's screwed.
I think the average American doesn't feel like their wages are going up either.
No, absolutely. It's not keeping up with inflation, not even close. Yeah. And then you have like the other side is like AI is coming in and like automating a lot of things. It's like I come from the software realm, so like there's a lot of concern about new guys, like young people. Like, okay, you're coming out of college, you just spent 4 years on a degree in software. AI writes better software than you right now. So good luck.
Yeah.
Like, good luck getting hired when like, even like my company, for example, like, we're adopting AI as a tool. It's useful. It saves us a lot of time. But if you rewind 10 years, that time could have potentially went to like an intern or something, like just like making boilerplate classes and stuff like that. So I don't know, like, in my opinion, potentially that cost at least a couple jobs for like a college kid, like coming right out of school, gone, evaporated because we have a tool that does it.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. So like you have wages aren't keeping up and then jobs are potentially evaporating because of the AI market, which is, I think that this will work out. Like the AI thing's going to end up working out. We're going to see it as like a useful tool going forward and it'll actually spur productivity in the long run. But in the short term, it's just kind of like companies are they're like, we have this thing that's going to increase or decrease our costs by like a whole order of magnitude. And they're going to realize that it's like, but everything's growing so rapidly now that we have to compete. We have to hire more people, expand to fill the gaps and all that and compete in the market. But it's going to take time.
Yeah.
In the short term, that looks bad. And that's what we're talking about. We're going into the midterms. Short term, people are going to see this and it's pain.
Yeah. Tom, I want to thank you for coming on here
so
and speaking your mind.
Oh, man.
Getting that off your chest.
I appreciate you having me on. Let me just stream of consciousness rage.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that, like I said, things are looking good in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope things turn in more positive. I hope this war doesn't last long.
Me too, man.
I hope it just ends, hopefully, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And we can get to making America great again. Being America first is a great idea, great policy. And
much
that's
better.
what we want to see out of our legislators.
Yes.
And I feel like you're one of those.
Amen. Yeah.
Thank
Thank you, man.
All right.
You have a good one. I'll see you around.
All right. All right, so that was Tom Mannion. He's a state rep for New Hampshire, and today on the main stage we have Tom Woods, the VIP keynote. That's tomorrow. Today we have Scott Horton. He's the keynote speaker. That's for Friday, and then let's see. Today we're gonna have Matt Kibbe, the Pork Fest parking lot as a model for social change. This is going to be his speech. Bruce Fenton, Liberty in the Free State. I believe he already had that speech today. Jeremy Corden, build alternatives to central bank digital currencies. And Rep. Jason Osborne, rules for reformed radicals. Dan McKnight, defend the guard, our solemn duty from Daniel Webster. Eric Brakey, he's the director of the Free State Project, a libertarian culture of builders and doers. Jason Sorens, Liberty in Practice. He is one of the founders of the Free State Project. And Jody Underwood, she runs education options. I actually met her at Education Options Expo, so she's actually very interesting to talk to. Maybe we can get her on here. In her speeches, education is the thing that makes everyone lose their minds. And who else we got? Dr. Carl Kreder, separating money from the state. David Breger, why is silver essential to freedom? And Representative Joseph Barton. Who else? On the main stage, Friday, March 6th. Rebuilding the freedom to build housing with Island Blumsack, Christina Mojica, and Senator Keith Murphy. And then on the main stage, we also have What is the Next Phase of Money with Jeremy Corden, Dr. Carl Kreder, JP Cortez, and David Breger. We got some dialogue series here at the Liberty Forum with Vanessa Ramos. How should we free society and handle mental illness and drug addiction? She's got a dialogue series going today. Carla Garrick, she's got a dialogue series. What should free staters be measuring? Jay Noon, utilizing your homestead to create a competent generation next. Seamus O'Scalady is gaining financial independence, the most important thing you can do for freedom. And I think that there's a couple lunch workshops and sessions. Tokeni's Anything, but with Kumar Bakrapatem. That's a lunch workshop today. And Rethinking Education with Ian Underwood. And so, yeah, there's a lot going on here. If you're in the Concord area, we're down here, and we're going to have some more guests coming up. So keep tuning in, and we'll keep doing what we're doing. All right. The Grant Discourse at Liberty Forum. All right. While we wait for our next guest to come up, I figure I can give you an idea of who sponsors these types of events. So this is, like I said, this is the Free State Projects event, New Hampshire Liberty Forum 2026. Some of their sponsors are Chainstone Labs, Free State Bitcoin, Goldback. Those are their champion sponsors. Their friend sponsors are Free Talk Live, Freeman, AFP New Hampshire, Melanie Gibson, Realtor Melanie Gibson, Bring Our Troops Home, Quai Network, QUAI Network, and Local Silver Mint. Those are the friend sponsors, and then grant sponsors are Porcupine Real Estate, the National Law Review, Alt Expo, Day 2026, and Scott Brown for U.S. Senate. The exhibitors we got here: Independence Realty Group, Children's Scholarship Fund, Young Americans for Liberty, and Latitude Learning, and Turning Point Action. Some more exhibitors are Club 75 Alliance, Granite Legacy Homes, the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance, Porcupine Properties, Think Penguin, Bare Minimum Books, and You Are the Power. So there's a lot of different exhibits going on, and if you want to know more, off of their website, hosted by the Free State Project in Concord, New Hampshire, the New Hampshire Liberty Forum brings together liberty-minded thinkers and activists from around the globe, each committed to creating and expanding real, functional communities of freedom. The Free State Project unites 20,000 plus liberty-minded people in New Hampshire to build a freer, more self-reliant community by focusing our efforts in one small liberty-friendly state. We are expanding personal and economic freedom through activism, entrepreneurship, and mutual support. The 2026 New Hampshire Liberty Forum will be, well, we already know that. We're in Concord right now. So the first year New Hampshire Liberty Forum was 2027, hosted by John Stossel, Ron Paul, and Michael Badnarik. And since then, dozens of internationally known speakers have participated, including Judge Andrew Napolitano, Peter Schiff, Naomi Wolf, and Edward Snowden. So this has been going on for a while. Yeah, so if you are a liberty-minded person, like-minded person, this is something that you might enjoy. The Free State Project, if you're a New Hampshire native and you love New Hampshire for what it is, and the libertarian streak that this state seems to have had for a long time, and you appreciate it for its freedoms that we have here, then this is something that I would suggest you kind of look into. I know this has been New Hampshire seems like it's embattled right now with some progressives that want to come in and make it more like its surrounding states, Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont. But I think that it's worth fighting for to keep New Hampshire, New Hampshire. We have some of the most lax gun laws in the state, in the country, and we also have the lowest crime rates in the country. And it's a great place to raise kids. And right now we're doing a lot with education freedom. So if you're homeschooling or you want to homeschool, it's a great place to come and do that. So Free State Project is, I've known about it since probably the late 2000s. I'm not a member of the Free State Project. I've never, as far as I know, I don't think I've ever signed any pledge for the Free State Project, but I've always got along with every Free Stater I've met, and I've interviewed quite a few of them on my show. Jason Osborne, Matt Proulx. You saw Tom Mannion. I always like what they have to say. They always bring a good argument to the table for liberty and for small government. And that's basically what this country was founded on. And we need to hold on to that, because once it's gone, it's hard to get it back if you can at all. So, like I said, stay tuned. We'll have some more guests coming up. And you're listening to Grant Discourse at the 2026 Liberty Forum.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. All right, welcome back. We're here at 2026 Liberty Forum. We got our next guest here with us, and well, I'll let you introduce yourself. I think most people here probably know who you are, but we've never formally met.
Yeah.
So I'm Craig.
I'm Jason.
Nice to
Pleased to meet you.
And Jason, you are the founder of the Free State Project.
Yeah, the founder of the Free State Project. I wrote an essay that kicked it all off nearly 25 years ago. I was a 24-year-old graduate student, very upset at the state of American politics and thinking that national libertarian strategies weren't working. So how can we actually achieve a free society in our lifetimes? And it seemed to me that there was no other solution but concentrating our efforts in a place where we could make a real difference.
Nice. And how long was it before you saw it kind of getting traction?
Well, it took several months, and then Walter Williams wrote a syndicated column praising the Free State Project, saying we should choose Texas and then secede from the Union. And we looked at that and we said, well, obviously Texas is way too big, and plus Texas is not as liberty friendly as it's made out to be. I grew up there, so his particular suggestion wasn't workable, but hundreds of people immediately signed up after his piece came out. And then we became a story because when we signed up the first 5,000 people, all of those people had the right to vote on which state we would choose. And so we were a big story in all the candidate states, which are all low population states in the West and the East, mostly in the North. And so, I was doing radio and TV and talking to newspaper reporters constantly. And by being able to sign people up online on our website, we ramped up very quickly, hit 5,000 in 2003, and New Hampshire won that vote.
And so how many people do you think you've had come here so far?
Yeah, so the number I've heard is about 7,000, a little over 7,000. And that's out of, I would say, about 23,000 commitments now. So one of the things that happened right after we chose New Hampshire is we were no longer a media story. And so we were almost dead for years, but people were moving. A few dozen people moved the first year, and then more. And then someone got elected to the state legislature in 2006. And then we started Liberty Forum in 2007, had Ron Paul come and John Stossel. And then Ron Paul subsequently announced his presidential campaign. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of college students get active in his campaign, come to the state. A lot of them have never left. And so we were off to the races there. And so since then, hundreds of people move every year. Obviously, over those years, some people have died, some people have left, some people are no longer libertarian. But we've also activated people in the state who have, adopted these ideas and joined forces with us.
Yeah. Now the logo for the Free State Project, that's a porcupine. Did you come up with that?
I did not. We had a group of about 200 people on a Yahoo club back when that existed, and we had a contest for logo designs, and a guy that I've really never heard of since then, a guy named Joe Littlejohn out of California, came up with a few designs. One of them was this porcupine design. Everybody loved it, and that's been the reality since then. We kind of wanted something that was cute but expressed the non-aggression principle in the same way that the Gadsden snake does, but fresher and more up to date. And that's where the porcupine came from.
And it can, anybody that's ever encountered a porcupine, you don't want to mess with a porcupine.
Absolutely not. They will not aggress against you, but they're not afraid of anything.
Yeah.
Even, cars and things, because they know they have their quills.
So for anybody that's watching this that isn't a member or doesn't know what the Free State Project is, can you just give a rundown as to what is the agenda of the Free State Project? What is the goal, and how do you want the future to look?
Yeah. So the goal is liberty in our lifetime, a free society, and the way we cash that out is in our statement of intent, which you can sign at fsp.org. And it says that you will live in New Hampshire and you will exert your fullest practical effort toward the creation of a society in which the maximum role of government is protecting individuals' rights to life, liberty, and property. So that's our vision, is that we have a strictly limited government, or some people say even no government at all. You could have private justice. But whatever you think, that we only use force in defense of self or others. We only use it to protect people's lives, liberty, and property when they're under threat from violence, coercion, or fraud. So that's a grand vision. It would require reducing government by 75% at least from where it is today. But we think that we can achieve that in the long term by incrementally growing that freedom at the state level in New Hampshire.
How do you think the progress has been influencing New Hampshire?
So I actually decided to study this statistically
Really?
because I'm an economist. So I wanted to use the most kind of sophisticated social science techniques that we have available, data science techniques, to answer this question. So I looked at measures of freedom, and I looked at periods when the Free State Project kind of elevated their game. So 2011, when a double-digit number of Free Staters were elected to the legislature, and you first really had libertarian legislation getting implemented. And then 2016, when we hit our 20,000 target of commitments. And what I found is that compared to similar states, New Hampshire is far outstripping them now in terms of freedom. So New Hampshire's number one in freedom, but not only that, the gap is growing. So freedom is growing faster in the last few years in New Hampshire than anywhere else, and certainly much faster than in comparable states, states that are similar, like purple states, not very diverse, eastern, northern states, Midwestern states. Compared to those states, New Hampshire is doing way, way better. So the evidence, the best statistical evidence we have suggests the Free State Project is having a big impact on freedom in New Hampshire.
Why do you think people wouldn't be happy about that?
Yeah, I mean, some people have a vested interest in reducing freedom, and that's why freedom got reduced to begin with.
Yeah.
Is that you have on the economic side, you've got interest groups who benefit from subsidies and barriers to entry, and government meddling with prices, limiting what you can do with your property. There are people who benefit from that, and so they lobby the government to get those privileges. Even though they may hurt the majority doesn't know what's going on. Like, do the majority of people understand that occupational licensing raises the costs of everything all the services they purchase from licensed professionals without helping quality at all? And that's what the literature says. And it's not just libertarians, that's what economists have shown. The average person doesn't know that. So these vested interests are able to get the legislature to bend to their will. And the only way to fight that is if you have a motivated, committed group of people who are committed to liberty across the board and who are going to stand up when it matters on all those nitty-gritty things and do the work to actually stand up to those special interest groups.
Yeah, I was at the State House yesterday and I saw the protests out front, and I've been seeing more of that as we're going into the midterms. There are definitely groups of people that are not happy about the growth of liberty in New Hampshire. It seems like the Free State Project's taking a lot of heat for it. So, and I always wonder when I see them, like, because I've been to free speech rallies before, and there's people protesting the free speech rally, and then I'm thinking to myself, are they protesting free speech?
In a way, yes. Yeah.
And I don't get it. I don't understand where we got to that point. It baffles me.
Well, a lot of leftists now are committed to the idea that big government is always good. Like, the bigger the government, the better. No matter what it achieves. And so I was shocked when I found this out. I mean, I was on a panel with NPR, the New Hampshire version of NPR. A few years ago, there was a big occupational licensing reform bill, and Sununu supported it, the governor, and a lot of Republicans supported it. And at the time, the Obama administration, former Obama administration economists were supporting occupational licensing reform because they were economists. They knew this thing made no sense. But the Democrats in the legislature were uniformly opposed to it. Oh, this is a Koch brothers plot. This is just a Free Stater plot. Government needs to be there to protect the consumer. Never mind that the evidence overwhelmingly shows that that's not the case. They were just so committed to the idea that bigger government is always better. They couldn't see past that. They do not look at whether government is actually achieving the objectives it sets out to do. And so, yeah, we've taken a lot of heat from leftists. It's been good advertising for us because they repeatedly say, the Free State Project is the biggest threat, to social justice in New Hampshire. You're damn right we are.
Tom Mannion said he moved here after COVID because of all the restrictions. Do you think that you saw a boost in interest during that time?
We absolutely did. And it's unclear how much was due to avoiding the COVID restrictions and how much was due to simply work from home, letting people do that. But we got a flood of new movers in 2020 and 2021. And now we're back to that background level of move rate that we had before that. But we definitely got a big surge. And, people talk about how, New Hampshire, wasn't as free as South Dakota, wasn't as free as Florida during the pandemic. Actually, for a large part of the pandemic, it was freer than Florida. Not as free as South Dakota, but there's a data set out there from Ben Powell, who's a free market economist at Texas Tech University. What he found is New Hampshire's number 7 on freedom from lockdowns during the pandemic. So we weren't the very best, but we were among the best. And so that's something that we can actually be proud of. There was a huge outcry against the restrictions we did have in New Hampshire.
Oh yeah.
In some sense, we need to have that kind of like context where you look around the country. Yeah, we have problems in New Hampshire, but what other states don't have is a large, active, irate, restless group of citizens fighting against those bad things.
New Hampshire's very peculiar in that instance because we have for such a small population, we're very vocal when it comes to politics.
That's right. And I think it's largely a good thing because we've managed to have a politically engaged electorate that is also fairly independent. You look at a lot of states, they have, Democrats, Republicans, and maybe they're closely matched, but they don't have a lot of those swing voters in the middle. New Hampshire has a ton of swing voters in the middle. And, the political forecaster, Nate Silver, talks about New Hampshire as the swingiest state in the country because, we can go left, we can go right, we can split our tickets. And that's what we've done right now, where we have Democratic reps at the federal level, and then we're all Republican at the state level. I'd much rather have that than the other way around, because I think at the federal level, we see Republicans are not necessarily consistently supportive of liberty, whereas at the state level, they are much more so. Not on every single issue, but the majority of them.
Do you have any ideas why that is on the federal level?
Yeah, I think it's partly the mix of issues. So at the federal level, you've got foreign policy, where Republicans can easily be worse than Democrats, right? And you have a lot of these criminal justice policies and federal asset forfeiture and things like that, drug laws, where Republicans, again, are often worse than Democrats. But I think also a large part of it is simply that at the federal level, we've seen the Republican Party's abandoned ideology. They've abandoned conservatism even. They just do whatever Trump wants. That's it. That's their whole ideology. Whatever Trump happens to want any given day, they've completely flipped on trade. They've completely flipped on foreign wars twice. They were for foreign wars, then Trump got elected, and they were against them, and now Trump's for foreign wars, so they're back to supporting foreign wars. So, it's at the federal level, you just don't have, Congress people who are motivated by principles at all. Whereas at the state level, you do.
I feel like Trump used to really push his policies based on how he read the room a lot better before, and he seems to abandon that. Because, I don't think this Iran war is very popular.
It isn't. Yeah, all the polls I've seen suggest that it's unpopular already, and how popular is it going to be in 2 or 3 months? Even less. So
maybe it's because he doesn't have to worry about re-election or what. But I feel like he always wanted to be a popular president.
Yeah,
and he has a big ego, and I think that plays into it. And now he's kind of abandoned that.
Yeah, it is curious to me because I think on the one hand, he really wanted to be the peace president.
Yeah.
Right? He brokering all these peace deals, and he did a lot there in the first few months of his second term, actually. And then now I think he has sympathies and antipathies. There's some people he likes, some people he doesn't like. He kind of likes Putin, so he doesn't really want to get too involved with Ukraine. Like, he cut off aid to Ukraine because I think he just kind of likes Putin. But he really hates Iran. And that goes back to 2015. Like, when he was running for president, he was talking about, we're going to capture people in Iran and Syria, and we're going to torture their families. And I'm going to tear up the Iran deal that Obama brokered. So he's been consistent in just, for whatever reason, hating Iran. And so I think that's what's driving his foreign policy, and not so much a considered judgment of costs and benefits and consequences.
Yeah. So how are things going at the Liberty Forum so far?
I think it's been great. I've been in the dialogue sessions, which have been a lot of fun. Small group dialogues where there's an initial presentation that kind of sets the stage for a topic, but then it's more or less a free for all. Like people can discuss the topic however they want, and there's a moderator to kind of run the discussion and call on people. And people have really appreciated it because there are a lot of smart people here. They don't just want to be talked at; they want to be a part of that discussion. And so the first one we did was on how would a free society handle drug addiction and mental illness.
Yeah,
I think it's a huge issue.
How did that go? I was just reading over pretty much the itinerary for Friday.
It was amazing. You had people in there with lots of different kinds of experiences, an ER nurse, people who dealt with addiction and mental illness in their families, people wrestling with hard issues about, when do you civilly commit people, given our, predilection to not aggress against anyone. What's the level of basically insanity where you have to then say, okay, at this point, we have to step in and coerce someone. And that's a really tough call.
It's not a fun decision.
It's not a fun decision. And a lot, of course, a lot of the discussion focused on, well, what are the alternatives to the state? What can we do in terms of mutual aid and support networks and families? But sometimes none of those things can work. And sometimes you have someone who really just has a break and alienates their family, does their own thing, thinks that they're right, and they're clearly in need of help. And you don't want those people ending up on the street, camping on sidewalks. Then they were a threat to people, and they reduce the quality of life. And so at that point, I personally believe there is a rationale for government to get involved when you have people, leaving drug needles around and things like that, and taking over public parks. I think there's a rationale for government to get involved, but they have to do so with a process that is minimally subject to abuse, and again, that's tough.
Yeah. Addiction's been something that has really been bad in New Hampshire, and it's hurt our workforce. It's I know a lot of families that have been touched by it, and it's bad. And people have to do what's people have to be able to make their own decisions, but at some point, families have to decide when they have to intervene.
Yeah.
And
I don't think you can force someone into treatment simply for being an addict, because that would violate their rights. But if someone's at the point where they're posing a risk to others, they're using in public, they're using medical services, emergency medical services over and over and over and over again, and we're paying the cost for that. At that point, we have to step in and do something.
Yeah. Well, Jason, I want to thank you for stopping by and talking. And thanks for letting me cover this. It's been fun so far. And hopefully I can get some more guests in here, and we'll just keep this going.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. Nice meeting you.
Yeah. Good to meet you, Craig.
All right. We're back here at 2026 Liberty Forum. This is Grant Discourse, and I am sitting here with Josh. And Josh, you are with
Local Silver Mint.
Local Silver Mint. Can you get closer to the mic?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Local Silver Mint.
And that's your company?
Well, yes, I work for Dave, Silver
Okay.
Dave over in Ware. And then we have our mini mint and then a larger facility we're in the process of turning on over the next 60 days in the greater Manchester area.
So Silver Bits too.
Silver Bits.
Okay.
Yeah, Silver Bits is our premier product.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's a 1/10 round. Divisible, easy for trade and transaction. Something like that. If the system fails, your neighbor down the street, you can always go buy a couple dozen eggs, basket of groceries, that sort of thing. This is a tradable tool for barter.
So this is 1/10.
That's 1/10.
How's business been?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We've done almost half of the business we did last year in the first 2 months of this year.
Wow.
Yes. We've also Dave just finished talking on a panel. Oh, you may keep that.
Oh, thank you.
Dave just finished talking on a panel about the massive expansion we've done over the past year. We just raised $3.5, almost $4 million in debt and equity. We're moving from a 1,000 square foot production facility doing about 100,000 bits a month to a 12,000 square foot production facility that'll do 1 million bits in a week.
Wow.
Yes. The presses that struck the very first Silver Eagle in 1986 is sitting in our factory right now. And the man who was a kid, the youngest coin press operator ever, who struck that first Silver Eagle, now works for us. He just started Monday.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So where do you guys source your silver from?
We have a variety of suppliers that we buy from, but a lot of our business is people coming in selling their bullion, trading it in, trading it out, trading it up.
And have you been working in the silver industry for a while?
No, I come from the finance industry. I've been working with Dave for about a year and a half now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you liking it?
I love it.
Yeah.
As he likes to say, this is probably one of the most important missions ever, which is sound money.
Yeah.
And it was just an interesting series of events that led to the two of us meeting. I got into finance and economics because I was sitting in an economics class learning about the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve as a freshman. And I changed from a flight major to a finance major as soon as I realized that they can just create money out of thin air.
Mm-hmm.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
And now I'm on the sound money side.
That's awesome. So you went from the dark to the light.
Yes. And I've done the whole gamut: accounting, banking, venture capital, startups.
It's really tough when the way that things have been going with our financial situation in our country. I mean, we printed almost double the amount of debt. We've doubled the amount of debt in the last like 6 years.
Yeah. And with the big, beautiful bill, they upped the debt ceiling
Mm-hmm.
automatically to an additional 5 million or 5 trillion more, that they don't have to go back to Congress to have another vote if they hit that limit. So there's a lot of room for more inflation coming.
So it looks like this is going to be a good product here.
This is a fantastic this product, when we started launching these in July of last year, that was a $5 item.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a $10 item.
Yeah. And where are you guys located?
So our main showroom is in Ware.
Yeah.
But we are in the process of securing a flagship location in the Manchester area.
Nice.
It's going to be close to the highway, very easy to access right off the main roads there. We'll have more displays, more people working out of the store. But we're in a hyper growth stage right now.
Nice. And what are the hours of operation?
So the Ware store is just now changing. So starting April 1st, they're going to be open Tuesday through Saturday, and we're open from 10 to 4:30. The Manchester location, when that comes on in the next 4 or 5 months, that will probably be a 7-day a week, at least 10, 12 hours a day operation.
How is demand right now?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. We've got a lot of people buying, a lot of people selling. You know, when the silver price goes up, a lot of people find all of the sterling that they've been sitting on for the past 10, 15 years, and they come in and they dump it.
And then you melt it down?
If it's sterling, we'll take it in and we send it to our refining partners.
Mhm.
And they actually, because sterling is 925.
Okay.
So we deal in bullion, 3 9s pure on the silver side. But we'll send it down to them. They send us back silver grain. We run that through our pipes and we get bits out at the end of the day.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And starting when the new factory comes online, that what you're looking at right there is a stamped product. So it's only on the one side.
Yep.
With the new presses that we have, we will now be issuing a coined product. So it's going to be stamped on both sides, different designs, and you'll have a ridged edge, just like you would on a traditional coin.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But of course, this is a round, not a coin.
Yep. So people can find you online too?
Find us online, localsilvermint.com. And then I would highly recommend anybody who's interested in stacking ounces, check out our bullion deposit program, which we just rolled out past couple months ago. And that is a program whereby you can put ounces into Local Silver Mint's living inventory. And much like a CD, you put it in for a 12-month period, and we will pay you 5% annually in ounces. So give me 100 ounces after the compounding period. I'll give you 105.2 back at the end of the year.
Oh, nice.
The principal can always come out at any time, and you receive half of the accrued interest for an early redemption.
Okay.
Or you keep it in for 12 months, get the full interest, then you can keep rolling over if you want.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And you guys are located on 33 North Stark Highway in Weir,
Yes,
and localsilvermint.com.
that's us.
All right, Josh, thanks for stopping by.
Craig, thank you very much.
All right.
I appreciate it.
All right. We're back at the Liberty Forum Grand Discourse, and I'm sitting here with Derek Proulx. Derek, how are you?
I am great, Craig. How are you?
Good. Are you enjoying the time at the Liberty Forum?
It's going pretty good.
Just
It was a little rough drive this morning with the snow, but
Was it?
Yeah.
Where'd you come from?
Derry.
Derry.
So coming up 93.
So you're with Americans for Prosperity.
Yeah, I am.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit what you do?
Sure. Those of you who don't know, Americans for Prosperity, probably considered the leading conservative organization in the country. We're a nationwide organization here in New Hampshire. Our primary mission is making sure that New Hampshire is the freest state in the country.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do. Former artilleryman in the Army, I like to describe like AFP is the heavy artillery. right?
Nice.
So there's a lot of people throughout the state who get involved in political activism. They're like the frontline, like infantry. They lay out targets for us, communicate what they need. If they need resources, education on issues, technology, phone banking, door knocking, like that kind of stuff. We kind of bring in a lot of the resources to accomplish that mission.
Nice. And how long have you been doing that for?
I've been with AFP for 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, actually, middle of this month will be 3 years exactly. Yeah.
What got you into it?
So my story coming into politics, really. So I was a New Hampshire Army National Guard, was activated during COVID, did 1.5 years basically as a full-time guardsman, right? A lot of people, Guard is 1 week in a month, but during COVID, we all got activated. And so for 1.5 years, we were doing the COVID mission and just like kind of seeing, particularly during that time, the way that government was operating and being so integrated with that made me a little uncomfortable, right? I didn't really like the way that the country was headed. So I started getting involved in political activism, looked around me, who was the people that actually were getting involved and were kind of saying a lot of things that I was feeling. And a lot of that were people in the Free State Project, people and organizations that support liberty, like New Hampshire Liberty Alliance and AFP.
Mhm.
So just started to give some of my time volunteering and did a lot of different things, hosted like meetups, did door knocking for the 2022 election cycle, got involved with the Defend the Guard initiative. And it's the people at AFP noticed the work that I was doing as a volunteer. And they asked me if I wanted to get paid to do that work. So,
Yeah, I saw Tom a little while ago, and he wasn't too happy about the Defend the Guard result.
yeah.
Yeah. Are you a New Hampshire native?
I am, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're an actual Free Stater.
I call myself the native Free Stater.
The native Free Stater. I like that. Yeah. And how much work do you see ahead of what you do with the midterms coming up?
Yeah, I mean, so this year is obviously a Senate year for New Hampshire. We are probably looking just for the Senate election alone, probably estimated of $250 million being spent in the state.
Wow.
Just for that one election. Our other organization, so AFP New Hampshire, we also have AFP Action. They're a 527 FEC super PAC. So they deal with federal elections. AFP Action has gotten behind John E. Sununu. So we'll probably be having to look at some of that, the work that we're doing there. We currently have people out door knocking for Sununu, which is hearing a lot. Is particularly we're not just door knocking on Republican doors. Like we want to win, which is going to require talking to everybody. And right now, the message that we're getting across the spectrum is that people like Sununu, which makes sense. The family's been around the state for a long time. When Chris Sununu, Johnny's younger brother, when he was governor, people really liked the stuff that was going on during his governance. So it just makes sense.
Mhm.
And but it's definitely going to be a fight. Like I said, $250 million. It's going to be a lot spent on our side, a lot spent on their side, and hopefully that's going to drive out turnout, right? $250 million Senate race is going to drive out a lot of people to participate, and which, right, midterm elections, right, everyone always says that it's low turnout. There's no president on the ballot, but having a high stakes Senate election is going to help bring out turnout to make it sort of similar to a presidential year in the state.
Mm-hmm. So how can people get involved?
So yeah, definitely encourage people. If you are someone who thinks that you can make a difference, and I believe that anybody can make a difference, right? A good example of this is actually a special election that we just had in November up in Berlin, New Hampshire. So special election, state rep race on a odd number year, so not a typical election year that people are used to. AFP, we got behind the candidate Mark Tremblay. We went out, did phone banks, door knocking. People from all over the state, people from southern New Hampshire drove the 3 hours up to go door knocking in Berlin because they cared about keeping the seat, and won by 5 votes. Now imagine if like one of these guys from Hudson, New Hampshire didn't drive 3 hours up to Berlin and knock on doors all day. You know, you probably talked to way more than 5 people door knocking all day. Could have lost that race if that one person didn't show up. So, you know, if you want to make a difference, and everybody can make a difference, especially in a state like New Hampshire where elections are won by single-digit votes.
That's wild.
Yeah. Get involved with us. We'd love to have you volunteer with us. Like I said, we have a lot that we bring to the table in terms of training. You know, we run programs where teach you how to be a better activist. You know, things like 5-column analysis and like real technical, like 5-column analysis.
What is that?
5, 10, 20. So 5-column analysis, let's say there's like a bill that you want to get passed, right? And each bill has to go through a committee. And so you got your committee of your state reps or state senators, Republicans, Democrats, right? And you list their names out. And then your 5 columns are double positive, single positive, neutral, single negative, double negative. So if a state rep has on that committee has like thrown out that they are absolutely opposed to this bill, you can throw them in that double negative. If they've indicated that they're moving to oppose, right, you can put them in that single negative. They've indicated that they're going to vote for it, right, you can put them in that single positive. And then if they're like the bill champion, or they've like publicly like gone out and like championed this bill, you can put them in that double positive. And if you don't know, right, that's in that neutral. And so to be efficient, instead of like, oh, I'm going to email every single member of the committee, or I'm going to like try to engage the double positives, or even some of the single positives, they really don't need that attention, right? It's the single negatives or the neutrals, the people who can be moved, right, that we should focus our time talking to, writing letters to, emails to, calling them, right, to try and bring them over to that single and double positive, right? So it's a tool that we can teach people how to use to be more effective. So so trainings, we definitely teach you how to be a better activist in terms of training, door knocking, phone banking. You actually came and did some phone banking with us and door knocking with us.
Yeah, it was a pretty good experience. And I would say that the door knocking, it can be intimidating for some.
Mm-hmm.
But once you start doing it after a couple houses, you really get into the groove of it.
Yeah.
And the area that we were doing it was a little rural. So I'm sure there's areas that you go into where you have actual neighborhoods. Just knock door to door.
Yeah, well, you guys were out in the more rural areas. It was a little bit more in the center.
Yeah.
Wolfboro or northern Wolfboro area, where it's still a little bit more urban. Like you get some houses, but that was good. And I think like you saw, like our app for both our phone banking and our door knocking is pretty user friendly. It's easy to use.
Yeah.
Get around. So obviously door knocking is the most effective thing you can do. Real face-to-face human interactions with another person.
Yeah, there was one person didn't even know there was an election coming up, and they were a Republican. And after I talked to her, she said she was going to come out and vote. So
Great.
and if you got 5 votes, if you're losing, if you're winning or losing by 5 votes, then that matters.
Mm-hmm.
That really does.
Yeah. So that face-to-face talking to another person. Phones, little bit less effective, particularly since everyone's got spam blockers now
Yeah.
and everything. And then social media, right? Share stuff on social media, right?
Yeah.
People see it, maybe not quite as effective as like, right? Because on the internet, there's no, it doesn't feel as real as when you're standing face to face with another person, and,
Yep.
and like I have to like actually like take into account that you are a human being and that I have to respect you, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes the respect is lost on internet, social media.
All the
But it's still-
mudslinging,
Yeah, but it's still effective to share stuff. So definitely encourage that. Become educated. We do a lot of these things called pints and policies throughout the state. We'll usually do it at a local brewery or brew pub. We bring in state reps, state senators, policy experts, people who are experts in a certain field. We bring them. We do a panel, invite the public. We provide food and drink for people, so free food and drink. That usually helps people come out. And then we talk about these issues, and we try and educate people on energy policy, on healthcare policy, things in ways that we can actually accomplish goals that are moving in a liberty direction. So attend these, become educated on the issues, reach out to your elected officials.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Derek, thanks for sitting down. And is there a website anybody can go to?
Yeah, if anyone just searches AFP New
AFP.
Hampshire, they'll find it. We've got social media, AFP_NH on X. We're on Facebook.
Is there a region in New Hampshire that you cover?
The whole state.
You cover the whole state.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Are
Yeah,
you the only one?
No, I've got my partner in crime. Us grassroots directors, Justin Wilson, I work with, and then we've also got JP Fox, and then our deputy state director is Sarah Scott, and she does a lot of the policy, like high level policy stuff. But yeah.
All right, man. Thanks for sitting down, and keep up the good work.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
All right.
Yeah.
And we're back, and I'm sitting here with Sam Farrington. Sam, how you doing?
I'm living the dream. We're
Yeah.
at Liberty Forum, having a blast. Couldn't be better.
And you're a state rep.
I am. I'm in my first term. I represent the city of Rochester in the House, and I really enjoy it.
Nice. You're very young for a state rep.
I bring down the average age by a couple of years.
Do you? How old are you?
I'm 22.
22. What made you want to be a state rep?
Well, when I
At
was
22 years
yeah,
old.
when I was in high school, I went through COVID, so
Oh, there you go.
I saw tyranny like firsthand,
Uh-huh.
and I saw tyrants strip our freedoms and our liberties away. And they tried. I never got the jab, but they tried forcing us to get vaccinations, and it was a scam from the very start. And I knew that, and like I never went around with the mask mandate stuff, and it was just ridiculous. But seeing like our freedom stripped from us firsthand, that is kind of what like led me into politics. And then my representative at the time was also a tyrant. He'd been there for like 6 terms consecutively, and he was a Democrat, and he just did not represent my values. He was as far left as they come. So
you unseated a 6-term Democrat.
something he's up there. He's like 70 something years old, but yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was it like going through COVID in high school? With you, how was it compared, like how you dealt with it compared to how your peers dealt with it? Like what was it like?
I'm a very active person, so like I don't just sit at home.
Mhm.
So like I play baseball, and like that was my life in high school. And then the season gets canceled, and like I'm Catholic, and they say you can't go to church, and then your whole faith gets disrupted. And they try forcing you to get the vaccination and wearing these stupid masks that don't even work in schools, just because the people, the experts trust the experts, right? Which I actually find quite ironic, because now we got Bobby Kennedy as the secretary, and he's the federal government, and they're saying before, trust the feds and trust the experts, but now it doesn't fit their narrative. So
Yeah.
it completely shifts.
Mm-hmm. And you are the primary sponsor of the concealed carry bill.
Campus carry. Yes. So right now at every single public college in our state of New Hampshire, they strip lawful adults of their natural rights to defend themselves, even though we're a constitutional carry state. So we have been since 2017. You don't need a permission slip to bear arms in public. It's your right. And, New Hampshire is a stand your ground state. We have constitutional carry, but we also have Article 2A, which was passed by the voters, a supermajority of voters in 1982. And the exact words of that article say that all persons have the right to keep and bear arms in defense of themselves, their families, their property, and the state. And so we have the Second Amendment to the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution. But Article 2A of the New Hampshire Constitution is so much stronger than the federal Constitution because it makes explicitly clear this is an individual right. And the purpose of that right is to defend yourselves and your families, not only against criminals or, mass shooters, but against the government. And so it's very clear in New Hampshire. We have the preemption statute as well. That's RSA 159, section 26. And that says that all authority regulating firearms belongs to the state legislature, which is like how it should be. We elect people to represent the constituents. And so the elected legislature should have the final say, not administrative agencies or universities that don't have any sort of accountability to them. And so that's why I filed campus carry.
And it passed.
It passed the House by a large margin. I think it was only 3 or 4 Republicans who voted against it.
Yeah, one of them was my.
Really?
Yeah.
Who was that? Are you Brian Taylor?
Yeah.
Are you up? You're up north, right?
Yeah.
Effingham?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe that. But
he's always voting with Democrats.
Yeah. But the good news is I got a single Democrat, Dale Gerard, to vote for campus carry.
Good.
So I was pleasantly surprised, and I think Dale's a good guy. He can, break his party sometimes and think for himself. So that's good.
How does the future look for that bill?
It's in the Senate right now. We have a supermajority of Republicans in the Senate, 16 out of 24, but they might have some issues with the bill because right now the bill says that schools can't have basically any rules whatsoever, which is how I feel it should be. But they are probably going to amend the bill, water it down a little bit. I'm okay if we still can get a strong campus carry bill to the governor's desk. That's the goal. About 11 other states have a campus carry statute. And my goal is to get the best campus carry statute to the governor's desk.
Mm-hmm. You think she'll sign it?
I'm hopeful. She says that she's pro Second Amendment. So
yeah, exactly.
We'll see. I'm hopeful.
Has Mark McConkey said anything about it?
Yes. I asked him, and he was, you talk to these senators, and a lot of them say, sounds like a good idea, or, I saw you on the TV, you did a good job. But like when I ask you, like, what do you think of campus carry? Will you vote for it? Senator McConkey was one of the few who gave me a straight yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
He's a good guy.
I like him.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's my senator.
Yes, of course. North Country.
What have you learned so far being a state rep?
The most surprising thing is just how influential and powerful the lobbyists and the special interests are. There will be some either licensing bill or some regulation bill. One that comes to mind is dealing with eye surgeries and ophthalmologists and optometrists, and the special interests come out to fight against it because, of course, it's a job protection program for these people. And, certain stuff, that's just one of them. But it happens all the time where the special interests come out, and it just, it's not a problem that they're there, but it's a problem when the legislature listens to them over like their constituents.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll give another bill. I filed a bill that allows direct sales of cars because right now in New Hampshire and basically every other state, car manufacturers are banned by state law from selling directly to consumers. And it's just a protectionism.
So you have to have a dealer.
Yes, you have to have a dealership, which is just crony capitalism. And, that you hear from the left all the time, the socialists, the progressives, that, capitalism's bad or whatever. it's bad when the government protects a certain industry. I mean,
Yeah.
like that's not how it should be. And so in my eyes, this bill would lead to lower car prices. Everybody's talking about affordability. It would be better for consumers on average. And sure, it might, hurt these dealerships, but like I'm not elected to represent their interests. I'm
Right.
elected to represent consumers' interests. And so the Auto Dealer Association came out, they lobbied hard against that, which isn't surprising because when we repealed the mandatory vehicle inspection program, it was the car lobbyists who were out there fighting that as well.
But it's the company that that does the emissions tests.
Yes.
They're the ones that are trying to prevent this.
Holding it up in court. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. I mean,
Where do we stand with that right now? Is that the New Hampshire government said no, we're not going to have inspections.
well, they go
anymore,
back
right?
and forth. Like the legislature passed a law.
Yeah,
The governor signed the law.
a judge overruled
The
it.
judge overruled it. Then, we come back. We have an executive council in New Hampshire, which basically serves as a check on the governor.
Mhm.
And so there's 5 executive counselors, and they review all contracts that come before the state over $10,000. And if they don't approve the contract doesn't go forward. That's how it's been in the executive council forever in New Hampshire. And they voted down the contract with Gordon Darby, who's the emissions. I'll call them scammers because they were just they were just they were ripping off people at the expense of Granite Staters. And so the executive council made it clear, no, like we don't want to do business with you.
Mhm.
Get out of New Hampshire. And then this federal judge says that we have to continue. Well, that's not how it works in New Hampshire. It's unconstitutional. And so you ask what's kind of happening right now with that. We don't care. Like we made it clear we're not going to enforce anything. I mean, I ripped my sticker off. I don't care what anybody's going to tell me. Like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
We see a lot of these police departments already saying they're not going to, they're not going to enforce it. So
Yeah, it's law of the land.
that's right.
Yeah. A lot of times when I talk to first term state reps, they say their first term is like drinking from a fire hose. How have you adjusted to learning everything about being a state rep while also being as proactive as you have been? Because some state reps don't even put legislation in, and you seem like you're putting in some pretty good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I was elected to do a job, and I want to do that job as best as I can. So I don't want to just sit on the sidelines. I mean, I want to fight for liberty and, represent all of these constituents, all 4,000 roughly that I was elected to serve. And so I feel that it's, pretty important to actually do something out there. The learning curve, it can be, steeper for some people. I adjusted pretty quickly. There's not much to it. You don't have to be a genius to be a legislator. It can move fast. There's a lot going on, but as long as you know what's going on, and also you can't possibly know every single subject. You can't be an expert in every single subject. So, some people focus on being experts in certain subjects and then trusting people that friends that can be trusted, and not doing just whatever they say, but using them as guidance. And you can be like, hey, I know Representative Granger or Representative McGuire are good legislators. I'm probably going to follow their lead in this instance.
How long do you plan on being a legislator for?
Well, my term wraps up in this year. So
You run
November's the election. I'll be running again.
good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Are there more young people like you?
There's a few of us. James Thibault, he actually sits like right next to me.
No, I mean, like, not even in
Tyler.
I understand, like, the legislature, there's a handful of, like, young guys, but, like, your generation.
Yeah.
Are there more people like you in your generation?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Of course. Yeah. Don't believe whatever they say, because I'm in college too, and I'm a senior at UNH.
Okay.
And when I was a freshman, it was definitely the stereotypical college scene where 85% of the people were liberals.
Yeah.
Blue hair, Trump haters, whatever it is. They can't think for themselves. DEI, they're woke. That's
And
not the case anymore.
NPCs.
That's not the case anymore. And I think the shift started in COVID,
Mhm.
you know, when we saw just how ridiculous that was with government overreach. But then in the 2024 election, there was a huge shift as well. College students, young people saw what the left stood for with transgenderism, wokeism, climatism, and they really saw what, you know, conservatives and libertarians and Trump was standing for, and it was a clear path forward, and it was not the way that the left was offering. So a lot of young people shifted, and then obviously with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, there's been another massive shift. So I think actually that the freshman class at UNH, from what I've seen, they might be more conservative than liberal on average.
That's good.
Just normal people.
Yeah. Yeah. Went too hard to the left for too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah. We got to reclaim it back.
Yeah. Sam, thanks for sitting down with me.
You bet.
Are
Thank
you
you.
speaking?
I'm speaking tomorrow. I'm not sure actually. I don't know. I'm here for fun.
Awesome. Well, it's good to see you.
Yes.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right. Stay tuned. And we're back at the 2026
You're at
Liberty Forum. I'm at Liberty Forum. I forgot where I was. All right. And I'm here with Kate Demers.
Kate Baker Demers. Yeah. I
Kate
say it
Baker.
Demers. It depends on where you're from. In New Hampshire, it has a little French accent aigu on it. Demers.
Yep.
Oui.
And it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I've heard about you before.
Thank you.
And you run the Children's Scholarship Fund in
I
New
do.
Hampshire.
I do. Children's Scholarship Fund, New Hampshire.
And can you tell us a little bit about that?
I will. So we started in 2013 when our state passed our first school choice program in New Hampshire, which is an education tax credit program. So the way it works is a business can make a donation to scholarships for kids. They can take a tax credit, which is a minus on their taxes against the money that they give to us in a gift. And then we use that money to fund scholarships for low and moderate income families. So families that are, it was 300% of the poverty line or below that money goes to. So you can imagine a delivery driver in Manchester, example, one of our families in the scholarship program who is putting the Coca-Cola, in all the coolers. I mean, we need them to do that work. It's a good job, but it's not a job that you can make enough money to pay private school tuition for your child. But his daughter was being bullied in school, and he wanted his daughter to go to a school where she would be safe. They use our scholarship to pay private school tuition to be able to do that.
Nice.
And so that's been since 2013, we've been doing that. In 2021, we also added our state's education freedom account to our work that we do. We run our state's education freedom account program, which is the child's state per pupil funding following them. So that money before the education freedom account could go to a public school if a child went there, or a charter school, but it would stop. Okay, it would move between towns if you switched between towns. Now that money can go into the public school if you go there, charter school if you go to a charter school, and we can go into charter schools if you want, or into your education freedom account. And then that is a multi-use grant for the family to use for educational expenses. So you might use it to buy your curriculum. If you're a family who educates their child at home, you might use it to pay your private school tuition if you go there. I'm noticing a lot of teenagers choosing multiple places to go. So you might use it for a community college class. Say you're an advanced chemistry kid and you're like, I need an advanced chemistry class. I'm going to go to the community college for that. I'm going to go to my local high school for math, and I'm going to take English online, say. And so you can use your education freedom account like that to really choose learning paths rather than buildings. And it's pretty amazing.
It's a popular program too. It's been growing.
Yes, there are 10,670 children in the program, and it's not a lot as a perspective based on the number of students in New Hampshire. There's about 160,000 kids in New Hampshire, so it's a small percentage of students statewide, but extremely impactful for the children that participate, right? Imagine if you had a bullied child who you needed to go to a building that was safe, or a child who was, struggling in math and you knew needed a specialized math program to be able to get ahead. I mean, it's kind of, let's be honest, right? It's 2026 in America. We're at the point where we should be helping children to get the exact education that's the right fit for them every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you have you gave me a couple pieces of literature here. So this is with the EFA here, but then there's another tax credit here.
Yep.
And can you talk about this one a little bit?
So that one you're pointing to is the existing tax credit program that started in 2012. What you
Okay.
might be interested in is the other tax credit. Is that what you're thinking of? It? Yeah.
2027?
Yeah. So in 2027, there will be a new tax credit for individuals. Remember that I described our existing tax credit program
Yeah.
as a tax credit for businesses that then they make donations. Again, that's against their New Hampshire business tax. What is coming in 2027 is in essence a tax credit now for all of us. And so it's a tax credit against our federal income tax that, might just be withheld from your paycheck if you're a regular employee that gets paid from your employer. But in essence, instead of paying your income tax to the federal government now, you'll be able to make a donation to us and take a credit, which is a dollar for dollar minus.
Mhm.
So it's different than a charitable contribution. So this won't be a charitable contribution. It'll be a donation that you get a credit for, which is really exciting. And that's coming in 2027. Some kind of cool things about the way they designed this forthcoming tax credit program is that in the current programs that we run, the kids have to be leaving public school, going somewhere else, going to a private school or going to homeschooling. With this new tax credit, I will also be able to give a scholarship to a child that stays in their public school but is struggling and needs extra academic help. For example, if you have a low-income family who needs some tutoring or something like that, I'll be able to help them with that also. And so I'm pretty excited about doing that too.
What got you into what got you into the scholarship fund? Like what's your background?
Yeah. So before this, I helped work on 2 charter schools in New Hampshire.
Okay.
And I was sitting as the board chair of a charter school in Manchester. It's called Polaris Charter School, and it's small. There's about 120 children at this charter school. Charter schools, just so your audience knows, are tuition-free public schools, but they're run by a board and usually started by a group of parents or teachers. I sat as the board chair of this charter school, and because we were at maximum capacity, meaning we had 120 children, we would only be able to fit children in the seats that kids left. Okay. And we used to lottery those. So when you're at maximum capacity in a charter school, you can only accept kids by lottery. So we would run these awful lotteries every year for the 20 or 30 seats that we had available, and 100 kids would apply. And, 30 kids would get the seats and 70 kids would cry. And I watched this for years thinking, like, who's helping the rest of these kids? I knew those other 70 kids, one needed a different option, right? That's why their parents and they were applying to try and get into this charter school, this alternative ed charter school. And I knew there was seats open in schools all around me. I was in Manchester, the charter schools in Manchester, and there was seats open. There was, a Catholic school in the north end of Manchester. I knew they had seats available and that they did a lot of hands-on project-based stuff there. There's a Montessori school. I don't know how much you know about Montessori, but again, it's very hands-on. I knew the Montessori had seats available. I knew there was places for these families to go. They just didn't have money to pay for it. At the same time that I was sitting as the board chair, feeling this awful experience for the families, thinking, how can I help them? A gentleman named Jim Forsyth, within the legislature, and he put in this tax credit piece of legislation where, again, a business can donate to us and take the tax credit and fund scholarships for kids. And I said to him, like a crazy person, I was like, well, what happens after you pass the law? I was like, that's good, Jim, but you can pass a law. It doesn't do anything, right? You can pass a law. What's going to happen after you pass the law? And he's like, Kate, well, you should quit your job and start this scholarship fund. And I was like, what? And he goes, you're the only person that can do it. You have the skills. You should do that. You should quit your job and start the scholarship fund. And I was like, okay, listen, if you get this passed, I will quit my job and start the scholarship fund. I was thinking like pigs fly. You know what I mean? I was thinking it would be real.
They flew.
Yeah. It passed the House. It passed the Senate. The governor at the time vetoed it.
Oh.
Okay. So I was almost off the hook. Then the legislature overrode the governor's veto.
Wow.
Put the education tax credit into place, and I quit my job and started the scholarship fund. And again, that was 2012. 2013 was the first year that we started. We started with 100 kids that year, and now this past year we had 10,000 kids in the programs at Children's Scholarship Fund. So it was definitely worth quitting my job
That's awesome.
to do this, to be able to quadruple or more the number of children that we're helping has been just an incredible adventure.
The options for education have just been expanding so much in New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's fun.
And some people don't like it, but if like
I think just only that's political though. You
it's
remember?
absolutely political.
So it's not the children, the families and children that participate at Children's Scholarship Fund. These 10,000 students' parents are not Republicans or Democrats.
No,
They're people that want a better life for their children.
Right.
And that crosses party line. The only piece of quote unquote controversy is just in the legislature. It's only controversial when you're talking about to politicians, not to your regular everyday mom or dad. Your regular everyday mom or dad across our entire state thinks that you should be able to get the right education for your kid.
It should be about educating the child.
Yes, that's right. And that's what your normal everyday person thinks also. When I tell people about this idea that are citizens of New Hampshire, they're like, that makes perfect sense.
But when we're in an election season, it's politicized so much that there's so much disinformation about there, and they demonize the EFA program and they make it seem like your property taxes are going through the roof.
That doesn't make sense. So let's just talk about education funding for a quick minute. Okay. So remember when I described the education freedom account, I told you it's the state per pupil money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in New Hampshire, education funding is local and state. You know that, right? Because you see your property tax bill, right? You know that the money from your property tax bill mostly funds your local schools, right? If you look at it, you'll see the part that goes to education. The education freedom account families can't touch any of that money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're also property taxpayers.
Yeah,
remember,
they're paying too. They're paying twice.
They're paying for their local districts still through their property tax, the local piece. And so are all the rest of us, right? The piece that can follow their child is only the state portion. And again, it's like a 70-30 split. Okay. So the local portion is about 70% of the cost of your local district. The state portion is about 30%. So take $1,000 in your mind and split it 70-30. Okay. $700 and $300, right? Is the split on $1,000, right? So imagine you've got two kids in your public school. They both cost $1,000. They both have that 70-30 split, 700, 300, 700, 300, right? And now one of them takes the EFA and leaves the school. How much did the person take with them?
300.
300. How much did they leave behind?
700.
Okay. How much does the kid that's left behind have now?
How much?
1,700. Okay. So it's not hurting anyone for the family's state money to follow the children. Okay. So that is just, they're just telling you it's hurting the public schools. It's in fact not. They leave behind more money than they take with them.
Mm-hmm.
And the families that are in the education freedom account are all local property taxpayers who are continuing to support their local districts and then foregoing that opportunity entirely and saying, no, that's okay. I'll give you all the property tax money, but I don't need the service.
Yeah.
Okay. So it really is. That's true.
If you're homeschooling your kid and you're still paying all that property tax,
that's right.
Now you're still paying for the public school, and then you're paying to educate your child separately,
or using the education freedom account,
or using that.
Yes.
And then if you are homeschooling your kid, somebody's gonna be home to homeschool the kid, so you cut your income in half.
Sacrificial. Yes. The families participating in our programs at Children's Scholarship Fund are extremely sacrificial because they're choosing to forego a free service and take on both the responsibility of being now in charge of their children's education and also using our programs for some pieces of what they need, but we're only a part of their success. It really is the parent stepping up to the plate and taking ownership of their children's education and now driving the ship. And of course, making up any differences between, the amounts that they might get from the program and then what they owe in tuition or for their curriculum or for the activities that they want their child to participate in. So for me, it's extremely group of sacrificial parents that are doing this.
Are there more educational resources for laying all that out for people so they can understand it and not be BS'd?
Yes. So for example, one of my staff members is a past school leader who I recruited to come and work with us. And her title is Education Opportunity Navigator. Okay, so first of all, on our website, we do have an interactive platform with a mapping system. So you could go there and put your zip code in and see all of the approved providers
This is
that are in your area, nh.scholarshipfund.org.
Okay.
Yes, you can see all of the approved education providers in the Education Freedom Account program. So you can start to navigate that way. But if you have a special circumstance, like say, you have a child that has autism and is an 8-year-old boy and needs something that has outdoor ed integrated, right?
Mhm.
You may not know where to go. You can set up an appointment with our navigator who will spend, and I've listened to her, sometimes hours on the phone with the family, helping them navigate and figure out what's the right type of fit for their child. So again, that's part of what we do at Children's Scholarship Fund, is not only provide the resources for the family in a monetary way to be able to realize their dreams for their children, but also kind of wrap around them in the best way that we can so that they can make those decisions in an empowered way. And then their children, of course, soar at that point.
Awesome. I'm glad I bumped into you because it's been like we're going through a special election up in my area, and even my local election, I've heard people like blaming the property taxes going up on EFAs, like I said, and
No, it's cost savings.
so
Yeah.
and they said it's costing us $50 million and $100 million, and that's only a drop. Even if it was $100 million, if I think it's $50 million now, but it's only 5% of the total.
That's right. Yes. Well, and remember, the average Education Freedom Account is about $5,000.
Yeah.
The average per pupil cost in a public school is about $20,000. Okay. So yes, the
Yeah.
kids in the Education Freedom Account are less expensive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you tell people what they can spend that money on?
Sure. Oh, yeah. It's so fun. So mostly what happens when families come to us initially, they'll enroll for the Education Freedom Account program, and they usually start out choosing a different school. Okay. They'll choose a private school, or they'll choose their, student going to an online school.
Mhm.
Over time, what they begin to do with the Education Freedom Account is really creating and choosing more learning experiences. Okay, so you can use the Education Freedom Account for tuition at the school of your choice. You can use it for online classes. You can use it for college classes as long as you haven't graduated from high school yet. Okay, remember, it's a K-12 program, but there's many high school students who haven't accelerated enough to be able to manage dual enrollment college classes. You can use it for your technology. So imagine that you're a family who is a homeschooling family that has 5 children. And for the entire time you've done this homeschooling journey, your 5 children have shared a computer.
Yeah.
With the Education Freedom Account, now you can buy them their own device so that they can do their dedicated work on their own device. That's been transformational for so many people to be able to now have access to just basic technology that to you and I seem normal. I mean, I'm looking at in our podcast here, you've got a computer sitting right next to you. There's quite a few people who might only have one computer in their household. And I know it's hard to imagine.
Some
but
people don't have any.
Exactly.
They just use their
Yeah.
phones.
Yes. So this gives them the opportunity to do that. You can use it for tutoring. You can use it for special ed services. What else can you use it for? You can use it for all of your physical education and extracurricular needs. So many families are not, if you're in a homeschool type environment, you don't have access to PE class, right? So you might meet your physical education requirement by doing gymnastics.
Mhm.
So you could use your Education Freedom Account to pay for something like that. I think I covered it all. I think that's everything. I can't remember if I anymore. I think that's enough. That's all the categories. Yeah, I mean, they specified it in law. So if somebody really wants to check my work, they can go and read the Education Freedom Account law and see them all laid out. But it's amazing to watch kids when they switch from an education environment that may not be working for them to this, where their parents can really get them exactly the learning experiences that they may need, experts in the subject matter, classes and courses at different buildings that might work for them, using combinations. It really is transformational. We just had one of our students who came to us as a struggling middle schooler, and now she's headed to Tufts. And so it really is transformational for the kids that
That's
are in the
awesome.
program.
I'm glad you're doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
and
you. Let's shout out the website, nh.scholarshipfund.org. The Education Freedom Account application opens actually soon for the fall,
Okay.
March 16th, and that's on that website. The education tax credit application will open in April, again for the fall. And then again, looking forward to working with that federal tax credit that's going to come in 2027.
Awesome. Kate, thank you.
Thank
You
you.
got to come to Effingham sometime. We'll
Thanks
do
for
another
having
interview.
me. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right. Follow the Grant Discourse on X. You can follow it on Facebook, Instagram. Where else? You can also subscribe on YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as Rumble. So, yeah, everybody, thanks for watching, and stay tuned. There's more coming. Thank you. And we're back at the 2026 New Hampshire Liberty Forum, and I'm sitting here with Ian Underwood. Ian, thank you for sitting down with me.
Thanks for the opportunity.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. I moved here maybe 20 years ago. I've lost track. And since then, we've been part of Bardo Farm. We're living off grid. And my wife, Jody, and I have been involved in education. I mean, my two issues are guns and education, because I think they're two sides of the same coin, right? That my interpretation is that the reason you want people to be armed is to protect themselves against their own government. And that's the same reason you want people to be educated. So my little mission is to try to get people to see it that way and to rethink sort of the things we just do habitually with education. And so that was, I had mentioned to you earlier about the town I'm from, Croydon, where I tried to get people to do that and actually convince them on one day. And then sort of there was a huge fear and smear campaign that overturned that decision. But it was very hopeful, because literally all I did was I put like a 10-page pamphlet on our registration table. And the people who came to the meeting picked it up and sat down and read it. And in the time it took to read that, they were ready to just say, yeah, you know what, we should have a budget instead of a ransom. And that was the point I was trying to make, that the rest of the world works on budgets. Mm-hmm. You have a budget. I have a budget. If I have a business, it has a budget, and schools don't. They just say, here's what you're going to give us. And if you don't like it, we'll take your house. Right.
So you made them go by a budget then. So
I didn't make them do anything.
They made the decision for themselves, but the schools themselves.
No, the people in the district meeting. So the way, people show up, and the normal thing is the school board, somebody gets up and does a dog and pony show saying, here's our budget. And we go through it line by line. And then at the end they go, okay, that's what you're going to give us. And then we all vote on it. And sometimes there would be small tweaks like, oh, do we really need to pay for this? And so out of a, like a $2 million budget, you might cut $30,000, which is like, who cares?
Yeah.
And so what I did was I went in and said, let's look at this a different way. And this is what I said in the pamphlet. So the first thing in the pamphlet was I presented some data that just said, look, over the last 50 years, it is clear. You cannot look at this data and continue to think that the amount we spend has anything to do with the results we get. Okay. And that's what I did in my talk today. I do it in all my talks. I show these 3 graphs. And so it follows from that we don't have to spend any particular amount. So let's just pick an amount that we think is fair. Right. And so I said, how about $10,000 per student? Because charter schools only charge $7,000, and the best private schools in our area, none of them charge more than $9,000, right? And the VLAX public charter school is basically free. So it's like you can't make a serious argument that it takes more than $10,000 to educate a kid. So you might do something else with the extra $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 that you're charging us, but it's not education. And that convinced people, and they read that and said, yeah, you know what, let's do this. And so the vote was something like 24-14. It's a small town. A lot of people don't show up. And so that then became our budget. And for the next 2 months, the school board tried to figure out what to do with, what should we do with this? How do we actually educate kids? And they were doing a great job coming up with some alternative plans. And then a bunch of the parents and the friends of the parents, whatever, went and organized this campaign to get that overturned. Mm-hmm. So it didn't work out in the end, but we learned a lot. and it's been documented now. And so, the book, which is called The Croydon Budget Battle, is there. So the people who are thinking, well, maybe we would like to do this. And every place we go, we hear people going, oh man, we should do that. We should do that. And so it's like, I will help you. I will do anything I can, because all we need is this to happen in one town. If in one town, because our property, what people didn't realize, by reducing our spending by about 50%, given the way federal and state taxes work, our property taxes would have gone down by 90%.
Wow.
Yeah. And so part of the campaign against that was people were saying, well, nobody's going to want to buy a house. Our house values will go down because nobody's going to want to buy a house here. And I'm like, who doesn't want to buy a house where your property taxes are $300 a year?
Right.
Show me that person. Right. So, but that was the kind of thing that they were saying. And people were sort of, made afraid and bought into it.
And they were able to overturn it.
But the idea is out there. And we're all we have to do is find one small town where we can do this.
And you've written books about this, you said?
I have one book about that particular experience called
Okay.
The Croydon Budget Battle. I've got other books about education. I have 3 books that I was talking about today called Rethinking Fairness in Education, Rethinking Funding in Education, and Rethinking Fun in Education. And my point there is that there are some very simple things, some very simple truths about the world that we recognize everywhere else, but we ignore them when we talk about education, right? And so just to give you one example, the funding book is about this idea. So think about the stuff, the equipment you've got here, these nice cameras, the nice microphones, your computer. Think about the clothes you're wearing. Think about the gun you're carrying, right? You have a gun, right? All the things in your life that you like, they have nothing in particular in common with each other, but they do have this in common: how you paid for them. So when you buy something, like you want this camera, you go and find the camera you want. You say, I want this kind of camera, and it should have these features, and it should have this, and you identify it, and you find somebody who will sell it to you, and he gives you the camera, and then you pay him, right? You don't just say, here's $500, give me something good, right? Which might not even be a camera. Maybe, he gives you some whatever. The way that we do everything else outside of school is you get the thing, you specify the thing, you get the thing you specified, and then you pay for it. And if it doesn't work out, you get your money back or they fix it. And everybody just takes this for granted, to the point where the example I use is, imagine yourself going into Walmart. You bought a toaster on Thursday and you come in on Friday and you're like, the toaster doesn't work. And they're like, well, that's too bad. Right? You laugh because it's ludicrous. You know that they would say, oh, would you like your money back or would you like another toaster?
Yeah.
Right? We take this for granted, but in school we use a different model, which is, here's a bunch of money. We're not going to say exactly what you're supposed to do, but we hope it's good. And then when it doesn't fail, we have no recourse. We can't get, a refund. Can't get the money back. It's gone. It's been spent. And so all we can do is say, well, we'll try again next year.
Yeah.
Right. So that's not rocket science. That is just saying, here's this thing we do everywhere else. Why would we not do it in schools too?
Right.
So yeah, these are the kinds of things that I write about, is just like sort of step back. And so one of the things, I talk in the book about, is a inventor named Charles Kettering. The Kettering Sloan Cancer Center is named after him. And one of the things he said, which I absolutely love, is he said, a problem well posed is half solved, right? If you ask the question the right way, it leads you to the answer. And so that's what I would say with schools. We've been asking the wrong question, which is, what are we doing wrong in schools? And there's no good answer to that. But here's a question we can answer. What are we doing right everywhere else? And one of the things we're doing right everywhere else is we say what we're going to get, we get it, and then we pay for it. What if we tried that in schools? That's all I'm saying, right? So again, this is just, it's not a thing we couldn't do. It's not a thing we don't know how to do. We just don't do it. And so, I'm just trying to create cognitive dissonance in people's heads so they go home and go, yeah, why are we doing that? What is going on there? So yeah, that's the kind of thing I write about.
And you give speeches about this? You
I will go anywhere and talk to anybody about this stuff.
How receptive are people to this?
if they are conservative libertarian, they're very receptive because you can sort of watch and it's fun to just watch their eyes and their facial expressions. They're like, yeah, why didn't I think of that? When it's been presented to hostile audiences, they just don't want to hear it. I mean, to the point where I'll give you a fun story. So the year after the whole Croydon adventure, I went to the next year's school budget meeting. And I was like, okay, so I got up to speak and I said, well, here's my idea. Obviously, you guys want to keep throwing money at things like ski vacations and violins and whatever else that you want to pay. So you don't want the budget to go down. So here's an idea. What if we actually spend more money and hire reading tutors, right? Who will come in and they don't even have to work at school. They could go home with the kids. They could teach the kids' parents to read. What if we just figure out what it would take to get almost every kid reading at grade level? So what do you think the response to that was?
What?
Well, the response to that was the next two people after me got up and said, I am so tired of these free staters who just want to cut taxes and close the schools. Literally did not even hear what I had to say.
Didn't address the fact that kids can't read a grade
Didn't
level.
address anything. The only thing they addressed was I said it.
Yeah.
And therefore it must be wrong. So
Yeah.
it's a little like Trump derangement syndrome. And we before we started, I was mentioning, my wife's, this is why I am not an official part of that.
Yeah.
Because nobody needs this.
Yeah.
So I write books and I will go and give talks and I'm trying to I'm trying to find the right people, and that mostly means state reps and state senators. Because if I can find a state senator, I would love it if a state senator would just go in and say, you know what, let's write a bill to do some of this stuff. Let's write a bill to actually say any kid who has learned all this stuff is done with school. Let's write a bill to say we will actually measure what kids are learning, and the schools will get paid when they've actually learned it.
So you wouldn't have a kid go through a whole 12 years of school if they don't.
If he doesn't need it.
Yeah.
But also, let's actually make a distinction between what is a public benefit and what is private enrichment. So, okay, if taxes are used to teach people to read and calculate and think, that protects my rights because they're going to be harder to lie to. It's going to be harder to seduce them into voting everybody's rights away. Not so much welding, playing the tuba, speaking French, doing AP calculus, whatever. Those are all nice, but they're nice for those people. They're not necessary for everybody.
Yeah.
And so one of the ideas I'm trying to push is like, let's just say, what if school taxes only paid for things that were necessary? Well, how do we know what's necessary? Well, here's an idea. If something's necessary, it better be mandatory. And if something's not mandatory, then it's obviously not necessary, right? And so you could just imagine going to parents and saying, so it's okay if we make, your kid who wants to be a plumber take AP calculus, and they'd be no. Oh, is it okay if we make everybody take a foreign language or whatever? It's like, no, we're not going to do that. And so you actually whittle things down. There's this phrase I like from Antoine Saint-Exupéry, the guy who wrote The Little Prince. He said, perfection is achieved not when there's nothing more you can add, but when there's nothing left that you can take away. And that's the vision I want people to have of education, right? If we take this out, then that's obviously inadequate. We can never say what adequate is because everybody will want to add things in that they like or that are good for their kids or whatever, or benefit them in some way. But we can, I think, and this is the idea I'm trying to get people to think about, I think we can, in large, agree on what it means to be uneducated. And so one of the things I'm saying is, instead of asking, how can we educate kids? Let's ask, how can we prevent people from being left uneducated? And that's a very different question. And it leads to very different answers. So this is the kind of thing, if I can get some state reps or some state senators or somebody in the Department of Education to take one of those ideas and seriously consider and say, what would that look like in policy? What would that look like in legislation? Then I've won, at least to get the ball rolling, to get the conversation started.
Why do you think there's so much? It seems like there's gatekeeping with public education. Like they don't, or with education in general. Like there's like a group of people that don't want options.
I mean, I think that it's the same as for anything else, which is they're protecting their self-interest,
Mhm.
right? There's an entire industry based here. And if you were to suddenly do any of the things I'm suggesting, there are lots of people who would have to go find something useful to do.
It's over they're doing that above the benefit of the child learning.
Yeah, it had at a certain point, any institution becomes self-propagating and it becomes concerned with its own health. I'm not the first person to say that. Thomas Jefferson may have said it. But it's like, and that's why, I think he said, you need to have a revolution every 40 years because the institutions stop doing what you design them to and they start doing what's good for them.
Yeah.
And that's private institutions, public institutions, anything where it gets a certain amount of inertia, you've got that problem. So I think that's definitely what's going on in education. I think it's harder in education. And my wife just gave a talk on this today about how there's something about education that causes people to sort of lose their minds. And so the example would be, like, let's say I'm just going to ask you a question. Under what conditions should we take tax money from everybody and give it to people who don't need it? Should that ever happen?
No.
Right. Okay. So now you've answered a bunch of questions already. Like, should we give food stamps to everybody?
No.
Should we give housing allowances to everybody?
No.
Should we give, free internet connection to everybody?
No.
Should we give EFAs to everybody? Education freedom accounts. See, now you're pausing. And all these conservatives and libertarians, it's like as soon as the education enters the picture, they're like, you just answered this question 20 seconds ago, but now you don't want that to be the answer.
Right.
And I think this is what happens with education. People just go like, I know what the answer is, but I don't want that to be the answer. So therefore, I'm going to start tap dancing around how education's different. It's more important. It's like, really more important than food, more important than heat. You will die without food and heat. You won't die without education. And we know that because a lot of people have managed to survive without much education. But there is something about education. I think part of it's marketing. I think there are a lot of influences there, but there is something special about it where answers that people would give about other subjects, suddenly they're like, nope, can't do that. We have to have universal EFAs. And so that's just particularly frustrating to me because it's like, so, I'm one of the things I would try to get people to do. And Jody was just talking about this, it's like, you'll ask a question like, should we do this? Should we invade Iran? Should we, should we close down businesses for COVID? And the thing about asking that question, should we X, is it invites you to jump to the answer that you want intuitively and emotionally, and then try to backfill with reasons. As opposed to consider this question. When is it okay for us to assassinate the leader of another country? And I think your answer is going to be pretty close to never. Okay. So now you've already answered the question, should we kill the leader of Iran? You've already answered it. You don't have to even think about it because you shouldn't do it. But then people will go, oh, but we needed to do that. And therefore, now you start hearing all kinds of rationales for why, well, this time is different or this time's okay or it's somehow different or whatever. But it's like what you did was you let your feelings replace your thinking. So
I think if a country's at war with another country already, let's say you're attacked first, then that
okay, and that might be your answer.
justification.
So let that be the answer to the general question. When should we do this? When we're at war with them, then it's okay. Are we at war with Iran? No, we're not. So, but again, all I'm saying is you add the way you ask the question. Determines what counts as an answer.
Going to EFAs. So you not in support of EFAs?
I think EFAs are a solution in search of a problem. I wrote a book about EFAs, and my concern is not whether they exist or not, how they're funded or not. My concern with that is that people are not being honest about their intentions and what they think they're doing. So there are people who will be, oh, well, we'll have EFAs and that will somehow empty out the public schools and reduce costs. And like, it doesn't. And historically you can show. So, Drew Klein at the Board of Education, he came up with a very nice graph that showed total spending, not even per student spending, enrollment going down by like 15% and total spending going up by 40%. So if that's your model to get kids out of school to reduce funding, history is against you.
Are you
from.
saying that the EFAs are causing that?
I'm saying no. I'm saying that the reasoning that many people will admit in a private conversation but never say in public is, I think that if we give a lot of parents EFAs, they'll pull their kids out of school, and that will make the public school smaller and spend less. And I'm saying history and common sense are against you. So, and if that's your goal, then go out and say, we would like to essentially shrink the public schools. Say that. Don't come up with this thing which you think is somehow going to sneakily do this. And then you think the other people don't know that, the people against you, you think they don't know that you're doing this. So the book is really about my only real problem with EFAs is that people are not being honest in their discussions. And so they can't even get to the point where they even acknowledge what problem they're trying to solve, right? So if you can't even say what the problem they're trying to solve is, your chances of solving it are very close to zero, and you can only solve it through luck.
I think that EFAs are a good tool for people paying taxes and then homeschooling their kid.
Well, what makes it good for them? So I don't have kids, so why am I paying for schools? Why shouldn't I get my money back?
Right.
So that leads directly to there. As soon as you say, well, I'm not using the school, therefore I should get my money back. It's like, well, I'm not using it either. I've never been using it. So why don't I get my money back? Oh, well, somehow it's different. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. If you start and ask, though, when should I pay for something I'm not using?
Yeah.
Then you get the answer like, I shouldn't. And then you say, but should people with no kids pay for schools? Yes, they should. It's like, you just said 10 seconds ago that they shouldn't, right? This is exactly the kind of disconnect that Jody was talking about, right? It's just like you jump to the answer because it feels good to you, and then you pretend that it makes sense, but it doesn't. And that's all I'm ever arguing for, is just be upfront about what your premises are, and then follow where the reasoning takes you. And even if you don't like it, if you don't like it, you can go back and examine your premises, or you can just accept that this thing is inconsistent with your premises. But what you shouldn't do is say, here's what I'm trying to do. And then when it kind of doesn't work out, say, oh, well, what I'm actually doing is consistent with what I'm really doing, even when they're not, because that's just chaos. Right.
So what do you think the future of public education looks like then?
What do I want it to look like, or what do I think it will look like?
We have an aging population, which contributes to the decline in enrollment. So
I think it's hard to predict, because I think it's going to implode. I think everything is going to break at once. And it's sort of like when you have a revolution, right? And like there's been this government, and then suddenly there's a revolution. Nobody knows what's happening, and whoever manages to get momentary control becomes a strong man, or you get a revolutionary council or whatever. I think that's what's going to happen here. I think it's going to blow up, and I think what's going to happen is widespread civil disobedience.
Through education, because of
through the taxpayers saying, we're not paying for this anymore. That's what I think is going to happen, and then it will have to shrink.
Well, I think that as enrollment does continue to go down and the cost goes up, people are going to put their foot down.
I think they will, and I think one of the things that people will not talk about, but must talk about, is what percentage of what you're paying for is daycare and what percentage is education. What percentage is public benefit and what percentage is private enrichment. And when you have that conversation, when you're forced to have that conversation because people are just saying, I'm not paying for the private part anymore, that's when things will change. And my prediction would be that you will end up with something much smaller and something much more focused. Something that looks a lot more like Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, when I interviewed Glenn Cordelli last year, that's basically what he was saying, that in 10 years, the future of education looks like you're going to have smaller schools set up.
I think you have to.
And I think that going back to the EFAs, I think that's probably going to be part of that transformation. I think that we need to have an educated society. Otherwise,
I couldn't agree more.
And we need to figure out how we do that.
Right. So I would then say,
yeah.
What do you mean by we? Do you mean we politically, or we as a society?
No,
Because those are two different.
society. I don't want. I
Okay.
don't want politicians
Right.
educating my
Okay.
kids.
So that is one of the first things that has to happen,
Mhm.
right? Is you can have two people who are using, we need to have we need to make sure people are educated or whatever. And they really mean two very different things, even though they're using the same words.
Mhm.
They mean two different things, right? We must force something or we must allow something. And those are two ways we should have, we should allow this to happen. We should force it to happen, right? We need an armed populace, but we don't force it to happen.
Yeah.
We let it happen and it happens the way it happens. And my point trying to equate guns and education is however it happens, however society decides to do this, the government should have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Because it is literally a tool against government oppression. And, so I use the example, like suppose the Pentagon is developing a new weapons system. Should we check with China and Russia to see if they like it?
Yeah.
Right? How dumb would that be? Because you know what? We might be using it against them. They
Mhm.
shouldn't have a veto. They shouldn't have control. They shouldn't have any say at all. If education is your weapon against a government that's turned against you or gone too far, how much sense does it make to have the government in charge of that or
Right.
even involved in it? Right? So, but this is a lot of these are language issues, right? People say things because they've heard other people say them. They literally carry the words in their head without actually examining them to find out what they mean by them. And so when you press people on what they mean by them, a lot of times they're just, I don't know, this is just what we should do. They've heard that we should do this thing, so we should do this thing. And that's as far as it goes. And that's a big problem. But yeah, so, but as far as the future of public school, I think it has to get smaller. And I think when it is smaller, two things will happen. One, I think it is much easier to get social support in a small group where everybody knows each other.
Absolutely.
One of the problems we have right now is just, you're going to people in Croydon saying you have to pay for people in Concord or Manchester. It's like, I don't know them. I don't care about them. Why am I paying for them? Whereas if it's the people I live with, the people that I know, it's much easier for me, not because I'm being coerced, but to say, yeah, I know these people. And then it's also easier for you then to make these decisions about, you know what, instead of you taking my money, I'll buy books for the school. I'll buy computer equipment. I will come and help maintain the school so we don't have to pay that money, right? You have many, many ways suddenly to help the people that you know and care about and you're familiar with that it don't involve anybody going, give me your money, right? That's the thing. So, people talk about civilized, blah, 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 we have to do. And I'm like, okay, if you want to have a civilized discussion about anything, first thing you have to do is put down the guns.
Yeah. A voluntary society.
Yeah. Where, you use persuasion instead of coercion.
Yeah.
So that's always my starting point, right? It's like, are we going to put the guns down?
Yeah. And what responses do you get to that?
People go, we're not using guns. And then you have a whole discussion about, well, if you don't pay this, they just send you a letter. Right. And if you ignore the letter, well, they send you another one. And then eventually they send the sheriff. And if you don't let the sheriff kick you out, what happens? They kill you. Right. So yes, there's a gun, but people don't see it because
there's a lot of steps in between.
Yeah. It's 5, 6, 10 steps down the road.
So basically what you're describing to me, correct me if I'm wrong, is it's a very libertarian utopian vision.
I don't think it's utopian. I think so. For example, one of my big issues is I get frustrated now when people talk about rights because I think the word right has just been so corrupted and can mean opposite things, right? So if I have a right to free speech, that doesn't require anything for you to do. You just leave me alone. But if I have a right to free dental care, now I have to impose on you.
Right.
Those are opposites, but we use the same word for both of them, which makes it really, really difficult to talk about rights.
I think there's like one side of the aisle that's trying to make when they say healthcare is a right.
Yes.
But you can't have healthcare without the labor of another person.
That's right. That's correct. And so this is what makes it difficult. Yeah, this is right. That's right. That's right. So now I talk about consent.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%.
And so here's the thing. Consent doesn't have to be utopian. Okay. So, and here's the way people go, well, how can you have a government based on consent? And here's how I would do it. So I say, let's you and I sit down, or we sit down with a bunch of people and we make a list. And this list, everything on this list is of the form, I don't want X to be done to me. I don't want murder to be done. I don't want assault. I don't want my property to be destroyed. I don't want this and this and this. And we come up with the list. And in practice, when you do this with people, it's hard to get to 20 things. Okay. Because most of the things that law deals with are that guy shouldn't do this. And it's like, it's not, he shouldn't do it to me. It's just, I don't think he should do it. And so if what you do then is the only laws you can have are the second part of that is of each of those sentences, I don't want anybody to murder me. Therefore, I consent to be punished if I murder or try to murder anybody else. I don't want people to steal my stuff. So I consent to be punished if I steal from somebody else or try to steal, right? That is government by consent. And it's not anarchy and it's not a utopia. It's just basically saying, you know, the proper purpose of law where you actually believe that government gets its power from consent, which is our American philosophy. If you look at the Declaration of Independence, that's what we were promised, right? A government that protects rights and operates by consent. So if that's what consent looks like, you still have laws.
Do you think we'll ever get to a point where we can govern by consent?
Not in my lifetime, but you can make steps towards it.
Yeah.
Right. And the first step is to talk about it. And
Yeah.
so this is one of the things I do is I write a lot about consent. And it's just like, I don't even want to talk about rights anymore. I want to talk about consent.
Where can people find your work?
Bareminimumbooks.com.
Okay.
And also on Granite Grok.
Okay.
I have, so if you're familiar with that, I am a frequent contributor to that. And by frequent, I mean a few times, 4 or 5 times a month.
Yeah, they post a grant discourse on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in Granite Grok, that's where I work out a lot of the ideas that then turn into talks, which then turn into books.
Nice.
But Bare Minimum Books there's like 19 or 20 books there. Each one is it deals with one idea, and the idea behind Bare Minimum is like, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about this and nothing you don't need to know. And the thing about them is they're written. I was influenced by a book made from a speech that David Foster Wallace gave at a graduation. And so every sentence is basically every page is basically one thought, often just one sentence or 2 sentences or a paragraph. And so as you're reading it, I've found, and people have found, there's this sort of natural pause, like, okay, I get that. Now I go to the next thing. I get that. I go to that. I go to that. I go to that, as opposed to just being, having a wall of text in front of you. And honestly, with a couple of exceptions, you could read one of these books during a long trip to the bathroom. That's what I'm going for. Not that people should read it there, but I don't want to overwhelm people with a lot of stuff. I don't want people putting it down in the middle because it's just too much. I want them to just go through it. And when you do it, it is like listening to me give a talk.
Nice.
That's what I'm going for.
Cool.
So,
all right. Ian, thanks for sitting down.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk.
It was nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you. All right.
You have a feed into the. What are you picking up there? Oh, that's us. Oh.
That's us. Yeah. It's been a live stream. There's 200 people on it.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, people are watching now. All right.
They are.
And here I was going to pick my nose or something,
Oh, you're on camera now, so you might not want to.
Yeah. Well.
Eric Brakey.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How have you been?
Well, it's a very energizing New Hampshire Liberty Forum, so I'm doing well despite having a little bit of a cold that I'm getting over, so my voice is a little hoarse, especially after giving a speech to everyone here. I've been trying not to strain my voice, but I suppose it's unavoidable.
Is that the state of the Free State?
The state of the Free State. It's a tradition at Liberty Forum that predates my time as executive director, and everyone always tells me how important it is to give the state of the Free State. So I don't know when the tradition began, but I tried to give it a little bit more thoughtful consideration this year than, I think it went fine in past years, but really tried to reflect on some of the history of the Free State movement over the last 25 years, the accomplishments that have happened, and lessons that have been learned as well, and opportunities that have been missed, and things that we should learn and apply for for the future.
Where would you say the state of the Free State is right now?
Excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but we can't apparently even have a tour of the State House with progressive activists that, without them showing up and protesting us and saying the Free Staters are taking over everything. And they're not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, they say take over, but really it's a restoration, right? This is the live free or die state. This is the place where the Pine Tree Riot kicked off the American Revolution. These are not ideas that are foreign to New Hampshire. These are the ideas that made New Hampshire. And we are here to help restore that spirit and make New Hampshire achieve its full potential as a place where life, liberty, and property are respected, where freedom is protected, our paychecks are protected, and to really establish a beacon for the world for what a free society can truly be.
I've been using one of your sayings with the special election we have coming up in our area up north. The candidate on the Republican side has been accused of being a free stater, even though he's not. And that's just a fear tactic they've been using against him.
Yeah.
And so whenever I see somebody commenting online about how he's a free stater and he's part of the Free State Project, and I said, I've been using your line. I said, well, it's better than a slave state.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what is so scary about a land of liberty? What is so scary about freedom? And yeah, if that is truly what you are afraid of and that you oppose and you want the opposite of that, then what you want is slavery. And, maybe not, to the maximum degree of what we think of, I think when we think of slavery, we think of the worst kinds of chattel slavery that we kind of have in history. But there are varying degrees of slavery, and to think that that you have the right to the fruit of someone else's labor, that means that you think that they're your slave. And here in New Hampshire, we're here to say we are not your slaves. We want to be good neighbors. We want to care for our fellow man. We don't want to do that at the barrel of a gun. And I don't think that the people who want to put the gun in our face to tell us fork over your money or else, but believe us, we have a really good purpose for it. I think we can determine the good purposes for the money that we earn better than they can.
So would you say the first day of the Liberty Forum was a success?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of great talks. We kicked off the day with some fire from Bruce Fenton, who had a lot to say about the foreign policy of this country and really the betrayal of Donald Trump, as he has just kind of, embraced the very neoconservative, forever war, regime change war policies that he campaigned on opposing and promised he was not going to take us down. So anyway, Bruce Fenton was very fiery there. Of course, now just up was Dan McKnight as well, who is the leader of the Defend the Guard movement around the country. Of course, very disappointing news that after Defend the Guard passed with strong bipartisan support in the New Hampshire House of Representatives, the New Hampshire Senate continues to expose themselves as, a club of cowards who won't even vote on this measure to just say that if Congress wants to take our National Guardsmen and send them off to fight in foreign wars, then Congress has to do their constitutional duty to declare the wars. Anyway, so there's a lot of conversation about that happening here. And many other topics in between. At this conference, we're talking health freedom. We're talking about how do we free more political prisoners who've been unjustly persecuted in the war against Bitcoin. We're talking about housing and education, and really it's all kinds of topics that are practical. How do we build freedom in the real world here and now? Not just in theory, not just in abstractions, and certainly not just complaining about all the things that are wrong. There are plenty of folks out there who can complain about the things that are wrong, but we have a unique opportunity here in New Hampshire to actually do something about it, because we have a state where there's a large concentration of people, both native Granite Staters and and those who have moved here for the freedom that New Hampshire promises. People who care about freedom as a first priority and want to see it restored in the real world.
What do we got to look forward to tomorrow?
Let's see. Tomorrow, we are kicking off with conversations on health freedom on the main stage. We are welcoming from Maine Dr. Michael Champy, who is really a leader in the direct primary care movement. He's helped build up the direct primary care network in Maine. And this is basically, direct primary care is fascinating because it is physicians who have said, we're opting out of the third party payment model. We want to work directly for our patients and have the direct doctor-patient relationship and not answer to insurance companies and government bureaucracies. So they don't take Medicare, they don't take Medicaid, they don't take insurance. You just pay them like $100 a month, and it's like a Netflix style of billing. I know when I see my direct primary care physician, I'm always amazed. I sit down with him for like a full hour. We talk through everything. And it's so affordable.
Mm-hmm.
It's like high quality, highly affordable care that you just can't imagine is real in America today. But it is real as long as you cut out the bureaucrat standing in the middle. And of course, then your doctor actually works for you, not for the middleman. So we're starting off with that. We'll also be hearing from Ian Hewitt, who is going to be talking about how New Hampshire has been leading on right to try policy, nullifying basically the federal FDA as they have restrictions on terminally ill patients attempting to save their own lives with investigational medicines that maybe they haven't completed the FDA approval process, but that FDA approval process can take 10 years. And if you have 6 months to live, like, what exactly is the government protecting that person from? Shouldn't that be their right to try? And New Hampshire is really leading the way on this. So we're starting with that conversation on health freedom. We'll be moving into a conversation on the main stage after that on freeing political prisoners. There'll be a lot of talk about the victories of freeing Ross Ulbricht and Roger Ver, who are both targets of the war on Bitcoin under the Biden administration, but also from right here in New Hampshire, Ian Freeman, who is still in prison for basically selling people Bitcoin. And so that'll be in the morning. Boy, now I want to look at the program, try to remember. I'm the one who put together the schedule. I should remember all these things. Oh, there's going to be a great in the afternoon. We're having conversations about technology. We're going to be having a great speaker, Julia Cartwright, about the future of nuclear power, which is, of course, very relevant here in New Hampshire as we're having these conversations. Even Governor Ayotte has been very vocal about nuclear power being a part of New Hampshire's future, and I'm very optimistic there. So, especially some of this next generation nuclear power technologies, like I'm a big fan of kind of the liquid fluoride thorium reactors and what can be done there with these small reactors that you can basically like have one in every neighborhood, and they're very safe. We'll have Representative Keith Ammon and Representative Michael Vose talking about how we continue to develop kind of freedom-based energy policy in New Hampshire. And Keith Ammon will also be delivering his own remarks on a lot of, he's kind of like advancing all kinds of policy on 21st century tech and plenty of other conversations. I won't be there for that because at the same time that they'll be having these technology conversations on the main stage, I'm going to be leading a dialogue. And this is a unique feature of the New Hampshire Liberty Forum, is these small group deep dive dialogues into practical issues of liberty. I'm going to be talking about how and why the 2nd District of Maine should break away and join New Hampshire, just form a greater super New Hampshire, a super free state. Anyway, that'll be a fun one. And plenty of other conversations. I could go on and on.
All right. Sounds good. I want to thank you for inviting me to cover this. And it's been a fun day.
Yeah, well, we're really glad to have you here. This is our first time really doing a media room like this at Liberty Forum. And, with so many interesting people passing through, people who are building freedom in their own respective areas, it just made so much sense to try to get some more media voices here who could help broadcast the signal.
Yeah, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We've had a good reach today, and yeah, I think this is going to wrap it up for today, and you'll see another feed popping up tomorrow morning. So thank you, everybody.